Finally. Am I right? Finally, John. The Rock, a major star on SmackDown tonight. Pretty good. How are you?
Not too bad. Enjoying how wrestling, no matter what happens every week, it feels like there's something new and exciting happening. So we get a lot of wrestling, but at least there's some good wrestling we got finally. I felt we started this week off kind of rough with Raw, terrible Raw. SmackDown, fantastic.
Yeah. You say the wrestling was good. I don't know if I saw many good wrestling matches this week, but there was definitely some excitement on the wrestling TV shows, right?
Yeah. I thought SmackDown was pretty good, and I thought Dynamite was actually pretty decent this week. I thought it was a good bounce back for Dynamite. I thought last week was kind of bad, but this week was a good build up to the next big show, which they seem to have a lot of recently.
Yeah. Well, I think next week's Dynamite's going to be even better because it's Grand Slam. It's going to be in that open air Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York City. It's a big, big card that they have set up. We'll tell you all about it in a little bit here on the show. But The Rock, that's the big story. That's massive. Doug Hepburn.
There's a lot of Rock stuff.
Yeah, a lot of Rock news, which is great. You know, like anytime we get a little bit of news from The Rock, it's cool. He appeared on the Pat McAfee show earlier today, and there was news there. And then he was on SmackDown. The Rock opened up SmackDown. Shout out to Doug Hepburn dropping a super chat saying, finally, Dave, finally. Dave and Johnny are back on Ringside Report. We are back on the network. We are here. It's a Friday night. This is what we do. Shout out Lior. Shout out Doug. Shout out all the members over at join.ringsidereport.net. We are hyped. The wrestling world is excited because The Rock was on TV. SmackDown had The Rock and John Cena.
Yeah, the ending kind of meh, but the beginning was fantastic. Honestly, that may have been the best segment I've seen all year in WWE. That was really great. His reaction when he came out, incredible.
Yeah. The pop for The Rock, a surprise Rock appearance.
Yeah. Denver got spoiled tonight.
Yeah. They bought tickets for SmackDown. They didn't think The Rock would be on the show. Incredible. They open up the show with Pat McAfee. Yeah. So that was the big, it's Pat McAfee. And I was like, all right, Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
And we had seen The Rock earlier today being interviewed by Pat McAfee. And it was, I don't know where, it was in Boulder, Colorado, I think, for some football thing, maybe. I don't know why they were there.
Outdoors somewhere.
Yeah.
That's what I saw.
I just saw clips of them interviewing The Rock outdoors, and The Rock was talking about wrestling Roman Reigns. He was asked by Pat McAfee about a potential matchup with Roman Reigns, and he said, yeah, well, that's it for last year's WrestleMania. And he said that it was on the table, that they had agreed to it, but they wanted to set something up that would be kind of the end of something, but the beginning of something at WrestleMania, and they weren't sure what it was, so they decided to postpone it or maybe not do it at all. It was kind of vague. It was kind of like, you know, we couldn't figure out the right creative. He also mentioned that the merger was happening and the whole Endeavor deal and the TKO group was happening at the same time. He failed to mention that he was negotiating with Vince. I mean, he talked about Vince, but he also didn't mention like all the things that were happening with Vince at the time of WrestleMania negotiations last year, right? Like Vince was in some hot water, so it might not have been wise for The Rock to be doing business with him at the time, depending on how bad it got, right? I mean, Vince was in some real trouble, and it seems like he has escaped again, despite his reputation being pretty brutalized after all the payoffs and everything that he has done in the past, right? But Rock was also, like, he didn't mention, like, oh, Vince was also having some trouble, so maybe we needed to chill. Because that may have played into it, too. Nevertheless,
it's possible, but was it really necessary for us to go through that? Like, we just want to know about
I
the
don't know.
story. Like, why does not happen? And
Yeah,
I think
well,
just saying, yeah,
the
you could get
why,
creative.
the explanation, I didn't fully buy, is what I'm telling you. I'm thinking that
Oh,
there's
I get
probably a
that. Yeah,
few
sure.
factors at play, and maybe the Vince sex allegations were a part of that, because Vince had a lot on his plate. I also think it's interesting that The Rock is doing all these negotiations for WWE stuff with Vince and not with Triple H.
But he's always done that, though. And now, especially, that's what you should be doing because Triple H lost a lot of power. So
Still the
Vince is
head of
pretty much
creative.
he runs WWE now, and he has a part of UFC now that he runs. Like, there's a lot more power, it seems.
Yeah, Vince has a lot of power. He's above Dana White in the UFC structure right now, which is crazy. How did that happen? Vince made the best deal ever for himself. Incredible deal. But The Rock said that, there was talk of doing the match. He was going to do the match with Roman last year at WrestleMania, or this year at WrestleMania, right? Earlier this year in April.
Yep.
But it didn't work out, and it fell through. And McAfee was like, well, what about next year? And Rock's like, well, that's a possibility in Philadelphia. So he did say that it is a possibility. He didn't say it was going to happen, obviously. But The Rock is talking publicly about wrestling Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. And I remember the talk at the time was not creative, not Endeavor and the merger. The talk at the time why the match didn't happen was The Rock couldn't get himself in ring shape in time. And I think that's what he was even saying at the time.
That's what Triple H said. Remember Triple H at like one of those media scrums? He said that. He's like, oh, it's not easy for someone to come back like that. And I think he mentioned The Rock.
So that was the story back then, right? Like he couldn't get himself in good enough shape, and everybody was like, we've seen him on Instagram.
Well, that's the excuse. Yeah, that's the excuse they give, but
I guess.
Does Triple H know the whole story though? That may have been it. Maybe Triple H didn't know the whole story. That was maybe just the smokescreen they gave Triple H to tell everyone.
Yep. But The Rock is saying that it was mostly creative, and now maybe they have fixed that. I don't know how they have or would fix that. I don't know what the story would be that they need to appease The Rock for him to come in and do this match. Like, what does he want, And if they couldn't settle it last year, why would they be able to do it right next year?
It might have something to do with the merger, like you said. Doesn't Nick Khan also have more power? And he's buddies with The Rock. So maybe it's easier for them to work together now.
I think Nick Khan always had the same. I don't think his level in the whole scheme of things changes that much here.
But it's less people in the way now. Like Triple H, he's there, but it's not as big anymore. He's just kind of, he runs Raw and SmackDown. That's pretty much it. He's not really, is he even executive anymore? NXT's more Sean, isn't it, though?
He's like head of creative for WWE. He's not on the board of directors anymore. Triple H was on the board of directors. He did lose power as far as like the general company and all that and big decisions. He has more bosses now. Probably got paid out though. He's doing all right.
They said $5 million, I think. Nick Khan got $15 million. And he's still an executive, isn't he?
Yep. Yeah, Nick Khan got a good deal for himself too. He got a good deal for himself and Vince. And everybody else, I mean, Stephanie no longer works there. What's she doing?
Warrior's wife got canned too.
Yeah, Dana Warrior got released. A lot of people that work for WWE lost their job, right? A lot of management and different office people that we don't know, but people that work for WWE. A lot of them lost their job today.
I think Kevin Dunn is still employed, though.
Say it again?
I think Kevin Dunn is still employed, though.
Yeah. For now. Yeah.
For now,
we'll see. Well, Vince likes him, right? And Vince has a lot of power, so he'll probably stay there for a while. But let's stick with The Rock right now. And the fact that there's talk that he would wrestle Roman Reigns next year at WrestleMania. I think that's the way to go. You have to go there. I know that some people are like, don't do it. The Rock. We don't need The Rock. I think that's incorrect. I think Rock and Roman Reigns is the biggest match WWE could possibly do. It was the match to make last year.
Right.
It's the or this year, earlier this year. I keep saying last year because it's like the last WrestleMania. You know?
Yeah.
But
the
it
year's
was
almost over too.
Say it again. Yeah, I guess so.
We're almost done.
Yeah.
You start thinking 2024.
I mean, we're closer to next year's WrestleMania than this year's at this point, almost. No.
Not no, we're kind of in between right now, but
yeah.
Whatever.
Anyhow, timelines are sketchy, John. So next year's WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, I think Roman Reigns and The Rock, if you can do it, if you can do the creative where everybody's happy with it, yeah, of course. Some people are like, well, what about Cody? I mean,
that can wait.
That can wait, or you could just say that Cody was never able to beat Roman Reigns, and there it is. I mean, I don't know why people have it in their heads that Cody, because he came to the WWE to win the WWE Championship for his daddy, like, he has to be the one to beat Roman Reigns. I know people were upset that he didn't beat Roman Reigns last year, but I don't know if Cody necessarily even has to be the guy to do it. He's a good option, but I don't think it has to be Cody. It could be a lot of guys, and it really depends on when you want to take the title off Roman. Whoever at the time makes the most sense, I think that's who you go with. Whoever would benefit from the championship the most when you're ready to pull the plug on the Roman Reigns title reign, that's who you go with. But at this point, that's pretty unclear. Because if we're talking about The Rock and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 40, that means Roman Reigns is not dropping any championship, not losing any kind of matches from now until then. I mean, Roman hasn't been on TV since SummerSlam, and we're not going to see him until, I think, November. But
Saudi Arabia, yeah.
There you go. But Roman Reigns, he can be champion until WrestleMania and, of course, after. Because The Rock cannot beat the Tribal Chief. He cannot. It should not happen. It will not happen. It would be the worst move ever. Like, no. Roman's got to beat The Rock, too. Roman is doing things that The Rock has never done. Look at Rock's longest title reign and look at what Roman has been doing right now. Ridiculous. Roman is a historical champion at this point. A win over The Rock at WrestleMania 40 would just add to the list of accolades, which are quite impressive at this point. Over time, the WWE, they've really built this guy. And to have him just lose to The Rock would be like, what? Really? Why? The Rock doesn't need this. Unnecessary. So you got to put Roman over at WrestleMania 40. And then who knows when he loses the title? He could, after that, he'll be, 4 years as champion by then?
He'll beat Hogan's record.
He'll have beaten Hulk Hogan's record. So he'll only be behind Bruno Sammartino and Backlund?
That's right. He'll be third.
I don't know if he'll ever break those records. Maybe he will. I mean, at this point, I don't think Cody needs to beat him. Cody's story is great and important, and Cody is fantastic. But Roman's story and Roman's championship run is what the whole WWE revolves around. And it's a better story. So that's the one that's got to take precedence. And I think you just got to keep going with Roman for as long as it makes sense. And right now, it makes a lot of sense to keep going with it till April 2024. And then you evaluate at that point. I mean, who knows what it's going to be at that point. I don't see an end in sight.
Well, I think the important part is that we need this match, Roman versus The Rock. We've been talking about this for years, it feels like. And like for the story of the bloodline, it makes the most sense. If the whole thing revolves around the bloodline, The Rock is the best guy for this. Like it's not just about the championship, it's about the family as well. Like this ties in with everything. You really have to do this match as soon as you can.
Yeah. I mean, as soon as Roman started the whole tribal chief, head of the table, leader of the family type thing, kind of biggest star, most important, everybody said, well, what about The Rock?
Right? Exactly.
Even though they call him cousin, they're not related by blood in any way. Or by marriage, I don't think. They're not related, technically.
I think Tamina, maybe.
No.
No, not Tamina? Wow.
No, she's not related to The Rock. It's just, they were close. Their families are close. But they're not actually related. Nia Jax is related to The Rock by blood. And she was back this week, too. Is that a coincidence? Nia Jax returns on Raw. Her actual cousin, Dwayne. And Nia's super close with Rock's mom. Like, they're actually family. Like, real family, blood related. And The Rock shows up Friday night. Interesting. I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, well, okay. Bring the cousin back, and then The Rock decides he's going to show up. Okay. But that whole story, Rock and Roman, people think that they're related, right? All the Samoans in wrestling call each other their cousins, but a lot of them are not, right?
Well, the same thing with Yoko as well. They said like he was like Rock's cousin, and it's like I don't think so as well. So
yeah, no, Yoko is Roman's cousin, I think.
Well,
and
there's a relation
Uso's
with
uncle.
Rikishi, I think. Yeah. Yeah, there's a relation with Rikishi, the Usos' dad, but not The Rock, I'm saying.
Yeah, Rikishi is the son of one of Atta and Sika's sisters, I think.
Sounds like you're going to pull out the family tree soon.
I could pull out the family tree if you wanted me to. The Anoa'i family tree.
Connect all the dots that way.
Yeah. But yeah, the Rock is not in that family. I don't believe that they're related by blood in any kind of way.
But like you said, by marriage, I think there was some sort of connection somewhere.
No, I don't think so.
Even by I thought by marriage at least. Wow, I'm surprised.
I don't think so. I'm looking at the family tree and I don't. They're completely separate. I could show it to you even. I mean, it's very complicated. I don't know.
It's vast.
It's huge.
It's a lot.
But here is Peter Maivia, okay?
Uh-huh.
And then they had Atta, who married Rocky Johnson, right? Peter Maivia, okay. The High Chief Peter Maivia, had Atta, who's The Rock's mom, and then Rocky Johnson, and then The Rock, right?
Right.
But this whole other family tree is like separate. Like the Fatus and the Anawais, they're separate. Like that's over here. Here's the Anawais. There's Afa. Like these two, Tovo Lemanaya and Ami Tunuani Anawai, they had a bunch of kids. Look at all these kids they had. All of these people are their kids.
Wow.
I think. Well, some of them. Some of them are the spouses, I think. It gets complicated. But then there's Yokozuna, right? There's Roman Reigns. They're cousins. Sika is Roman's father. And see, they're cousins. It's complicated, John. The point is, they're not actually blood related. It's a big family. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, it's huge.
Like, there's a lot of wrestlers, but most of them are in the Anoa'i family. Like, people think The Rock is part of the Anoa'i wrestling family. He's not. He's part of the Maivias. And the thing is, like, the High Chief Peter Maivia was kind of like the top Samoan, like the first big Samoan wrestler, like the Hulk Hogan of Samoa. And he helped out the Wild Samoans, and he was kind of like the godfather for all the Samoan wrestlers. So that's why they're kind of like all tight, you know? The Maivias and the Anoa'is through wrestling.
It's just incredible. Like, and it's still growing too. There's still more Fatus out there.
Yeah. I mean, look at the WWE. Rikishi has 3 kids in WWE, and they're all top stars. The Usos and Solo Sikoa are brothers. They're Rikishi's kids. Rikishi was a huge star. Roman Reigns, who's their cousin, right? He is a massive star in the business. Their uncle and Roman's cousin, Yokozuna, massive star in the wrestling business. Like, huge. Huge. Jimmy Uso's wife, Trinity Fatu, is the Impact Wrestling Women's Champion. Like, it just keeps going. It's nonstop. Everybody related to this family is big in wrestling.
Umaga, when he was alive, yeah.
Umaga. Rosie. Roman's,
I believe
Roman's brother.
I think is it Umaga's son now who's wrestling? Not mistaken.
Yes, I think so. I think you're right about that. I think Umaga has a son that's wrestling. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, just a side note, Billy Gunn is still super jacked. My
Tonga
goodness.
Kid, Jacob Fatu. I mean, it's a huge family. The Anoa'i. There's a lot of Anawa'is and there's a lot of Fatus, but they're all kind of in the same family. They're all related. But The Rock is not part of that. But The Rock is kind of lumped in with all of those people. And, you know, you talk about tribal chief and the kind of general group of Samoan wrestlers. The Rock is regarded as kind of the king of all of that. But Roman Reigns has come along and made a claim at being the king himself. So, the match at WrestleMania 40, that's massive. That's the thing to do. Figure out who the number one is. Figure out who the king of Samoan wrestling is. King of the wrestling business. Number one star in WWE. The Rock versus Roman Reigns. And have The Rock lose to Roman. It's the right thing to do. He's the younger guy. He's the number one star right now. Just makes sense.
Well, I got friends going to WrestleMania 40, and I'm sure they'd much rather see Roman Reigns versus The Rock than Roman Reigns against Cody. Not to say that that was a bad match last year, but it's been done. Roman Reigns Rock, that's probably once, that's all you'll ever get. So they'd rather see that, I'm sure.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess there are Cody superfans that would rather see Cody have the rematch with Roman and beat Roman, but
they could do it another time. It doesn't need to be at WrestleMania 40.
Yeah. The Rock is way better. The Rock was the better option last year or earlier this year, and The Rock is the better option next year for Mania. It's The Rock.
But does
He's
he win
always
the Rumble
the best
now?
option.
Does he have to win the Rumble?
I don't think so. I don't think you need a Rumble win to set that match up. Rock just needs to show up and stare at Roman Reigns, and you're good. You know?
Well, now that we have the Seth Rollins title, so yeah, you can just use the Rumble winner for that. So yeah, you're right.
And that could be anybody. I mean, I have 2 picks for the Rumble winner. And they're both very cool. Either Gunther or LA Knight. I think you have to go with either Gunther or LA Knight.
I thought you were going to say Carlito for a second. I'm like,
no, that's too cool.
It's a weird pick.
That's way too cool. Nothing beats being cool. But I would say Gunther or LA Knight, right? Those have got to be the odds-on favorites right now. LA Knight being the lead, I would say.
Yeah, I like LA Knight right now. to take it.
Yeah. Leor says, I also don't know why people want Cody versus Roman 2 years in a row. Yeah, I don't get that. But there are people that want that. Leor also says, keep the title on Roman forever.
Okay.
Yeah. Doug Hepburn says, lots of great storylines for Samoan wrestlers. For sure. Like throughout the years. And those two families especially. The Anoa'i and the Maivia family. So much stuff. So much stuff. Mostly the Fatus and the Anoa'is. Like those people. Just so many of them are wrestlers. You know?
It's funny we're talking about this. I just recently watched today a rare match that happened, I think, in the UK. It was Yokozuna versus the Sultan, which was Rikishi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wow, like the fact that this match happened. And it was obviously near the tail end of like Yokozuna's career, but they actually got the match done. Obviously limited because Yokozuna was like over 600 pounds at that time, so it wasn't exactly a classic, but it actually happened.
Yeah, that's cool. Yoko was so great. You know, that's the thing. Like, that family has produced not only a lot of wrestlers, but so many great wrestlers. You know?
Yeah.
Yoko was incredible. Roman is a top star. The Usos are so good. Solo, you could tell, like, he's just a natural. Rikishi, in all the different versions that he had, you know? Like, he was so many different characters in WWE. He was in the Head Shrinkers, right? Wait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make a difference, Fatu.
Yeah. Like, he was so good. Rikishi did so much throughout the years. And, like, there's just, it's amazing that one family has not only had so many wrestlers, but so many ridiculously talented wrestlers, you know, and top stars. How many families have 2 WWE champions in them?
Yeah, I can't really think of any. Like the Hearts were great if you count in Davey Boy, but even Davey Boy didn't win the world title. He had a lot of opportunities, and was heavily decorated as a champion, as was Owen.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, only Brett was the world champ multiple times.
Can you think of any other family that has 2 world champions in the family? 2 WWE world champions, like other than the Flairs.
Technically, you could say the McMahons, right?
Yeah, but they don't count.
Because
I'd say the Flairs. I mean, if you look at Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair, but it's just them. You know, like David Flair doesn't count.
Okay.
You know, but Ric Flair and Charlotte Flair are pretty damn impressive what they have done. Like, as great as Nate was, and then you look at the Queen, and she is incredible, you know? Yeah. 2 generational talents right there. That's something. But the Anoa'i family, like, so many of them. Probably the greatest wrestling family ever.
You could say the Von Erichs at one point in time, but a lot of tragedies with that, unfortunately. But at one point, fantastic.
Yeah, but Kerry Von Erich, you know, he never was the WWE champion. Never WWF champion.
WCCW champion, though.
Yeah, all right. Well, his dad ran the territory, so, I mean, good for you.
Perks.
Yeah, okay. But, I mean, no disrespect. I'm just saying. Being the WWE champion means something sometimes. And the Anoa'is have 2 of them. 2 top guys. Yokozuna and now Roman Reigns. But The Rock, he is a Maivia. And his last name is fake.
Well, because his dad's last name was fake, but because his dad changed it, his becomes real because that's what he was born with. So it's not like he changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's weird because The Rock's real name is Dwayne Johnson because his father is Rocky Johnson. The problem with that is Rocky Johnson's real name is Wade Douglas Bowles. Born in Amherst, Nova Scotia, by the way. Lovely town. I've been to Amherst. And that's how I know it's pronounced Amherst and not Amherst, because I've been there. Anyways, I think it's funny that his name was Wade Bowles, but he went by Rocky Johnson in wrestling. So when he had a kid, he named him Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
We're the Johnsons now.
We've talked about this. The same thing with Warrior, right? His kids aren't Hellwig. Their both last name is Warrior.
Yeah. Which is more outrageous, but not that much more. You know, like it's not like it's because Hulk Hogan, like I know his son and daughter went by Hogan, right? But that wasn't their real name.
It was for the show. That's why they did it.
It was for the show. And for her, you know, she tried to sing the Brooke Hogan. She tried to be a singer. Yeah. So she called herself Brooke Hogan so that people would know she's Hulk Hogan's daughter and maybe care. Right? So they did it because they were trying to be celebrities. But their real names was, you know, it was Balea. Because his name is Terry Balea and her name is Brooke Balea. Because even Hogan is like, oh, I'm not feeling that, brother.
No, but Hogan, and this Hogan did to his advantage, where there's a difference between Hulk Hogan and Terry Bollea, and it worked for him in the end.
That's right, brother. It worked for him. Cashed in on that one. Anyways, so Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson showed up on SmackDown tonight, and it was fantastic.
Amazing.
Pat McAfee was there, and then Austin Theory interrupted him and started saying mean things to Pat McAfee. And says, it's not SmackDown, it's Austin Theory Live. And McAfee's like, oh, yeah? This is SmackDown. This is the People's Show. And I was like, oh, the rumors are true. Because I did see a rumor that The Rock was going to be on SmackDown tonight. He was on...
Really? Wow.
Yeah. I kind of thought he might. Because he was on that thing with Pat McAfee. He was in Colorado. SmackDown was in Colorado. And I saw a rumor somewhere on Twitter, I think, earlier today, like, there's a chance that The Rock might show up on SmackDown tonight. So that was like a story that was already out there, I think. And, but I didn't really believe it, you know? Because you hear that all the time, right? I mean, the build-up to WrestleMania last year, we were hearing it all the time. Oh, The Rock might show up tonight. The Rock might be at Survivor Series. He might be at the Rumble. He might be at Elimination Chamber. He might be here, might be there. And he never showed up. So when I hear that The Rock might be there, I'm like, yeah, well, he might not. It's probably what he tells him. Rock, you going to be at SmackDown tonight? Yeah, maybe not. But he was actually there. The Rock showed up. The music hit. When McAfee said this is the People's Show, I was like, are they really doing this? And then, da-da-da. The Rock comes out. The people go nuts because, like, it's The Rock. Me and my son were watching it going bananas in the living room. I mean, come on. It's The Rock, man. How often do you get to see The Rock?
I'm glad your son remembers who The Rock is.
Oh, he knows who The Rock is. He knows who everybody is, John. He's getting to the point he knows more about wrestling than you do. We're going to do trivia. We're going to do John versus Zev. It's going to be, that's what's going to happen. I'm going to host the show John versus Zev, and I think he's going to crush you. He knows the names of the theme songs of the wrestlers. You know those songs have names? Good, yeah.
I figured they did. I didn't really care to look them up whatsoever, but
no.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
He knows them.
Well, he'll kill me on that one, but you know, it's past his bedtime, so it's not going to happen tonight.
Well, we can record other times, John. It doesn't always have to be now. So The Rock showed up, and, you know, amazing. Just seeing The Rock, it's great. And then Theory starts saying things to The Rock. He says, oh, it's Austin and The Rock in the ring one more time. I could make you famous, da-da-da. And now it's the real Austin, not the boring Stone Cold Steve Austin. He's no good. Just like you, Rock, you're no good. And The Rock is like, what? If you want to see me kick this jabroni's ass. Give me a hell yeah. And the crowd gives him a hell yeah. And then The Rock got the arena to chant. He's like, okay, this is what's going to happen. In 3 seconds, this part of the arena is going to say, you are. And then the other one's going to say, an asshole. Except they censored it. Did they censor it where you were watching? Because I was watching on Fox. It was fully censored.
The first 2 times it wasn't censored, and then after the 2 times it was censored.
Oh. Well,
but I knew what he said the first time.
Yeah, I mean, you could read his lips, but it was fully just blanked out when I was watching. So it said he was getting the crowd to chant, you are an asshole, and they did it, but there was no sound for it. They just cut the sound on the broadcast. It was fully censored, which...
Oh, well, even the crowd was censored? Really?
Yeah. On Fox?
Wow.
I was watching it on Fox. It was completely... Yeah.
Wow. Okay. For me, like, I heard the crowd at least, and at least I got 2 Rock a-holes, but...
Yeah, you were probably watching it on Sportsnet, where maybe they didn't censor it as much, because they do have a warning on Sportsnet. But on Fox, there's no warning. It's just regular TV. So, yeah, they cut off like all the sound. Couldn't hear anything.
Wow. That sucks, actually, because that added to the moment. Because that went for a while, that little bit. Like,
yeah, you couldn't hear a damn thing. It was terrible.
Wow, that sucks.
I don't understand how he didn't clear that, or how they didn't know that beforehand. You know, why would you say asshole knowing that you're just going to get fully censored on Fox? Because, I mean, it took away from the promo, for sure.
Well, for me, it added, because I actually got the experience. So I'm like, oh, this is incredible. What a moment. Like, but yeah, if you don't have that sound, like, yeah, that must have really been a bummer.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
But again, I was watching with my son, so it was good because, you know, he didn't hear any bad words.
I guess.
So that was fine.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I was like, oh, The Rock is getting the crowd to do a cool thing that no one watching can hear. I mean, it seems cool. The Rock seems excited about it, but I'm not hearing a damn thing. And they're doing the show for Fox.
Sides too.
Yeah.
That was fantastic when he did that.
Well, I saw him set it up. These guys are going to say you are, and then these guys are going to say, I was like, what?
Right.
And then The Rock is just standing there. And that, you know, the crowd.
Yeah. It's a 2-hour show.
Yeah, and then The Rock is like, okay, I'm going to beat you up now, and then Theory hits him first, and then The Rock turns the tables, throws him off the ropes, hits a spine buster, people's elbow, tells McAfee to hit the people's elbow, and he does, and then that was it. But, man, a Rock appearance on SmackDown, it also gives you hope that those words that he spoke earlier today, where he said, yeah, maybe we'll wrestle at Mania in Philly, gives you hope that those words are true. You know, maybe they will. If he's showing up on SmackDown just to do this random appearance, why wouldn't he work a match at Mania? Maybe this is building towards something.
I think it was more like, you know, this could work out kind of thing, and let's see how the people react to it. And judging off the reaction, it's like, well, you got to give people what they want. I think people want this.
Super chat.
Let's go with it. That's what I think. A little distracted right now because this is, I believe, Jade Cargill's last AEW match going on right now.
Yeah. This is weird. The Jade Cargill Chris Statlander rematch is just happening on Rampage right now, and it feels like they're burying it.
Well, it's not burying. It's just that apparently her contract ended this week, so they had to get that match done. So I'm thinking they couldn't get her contract was probably done before Collision. It's probably done now or something. So that's why they had to get the match on Rampage.
It's weird though because Jade was champion for so long. Statlander beat her after Jade had wrestled a match. We haven't seen Jade since, and they really haven't done much to build this rematch. Like, if this is Jade's last match on her contract, fine, beat her, but maybe promote it a little bit so you can get something out of it.
Well, they had an angle on Collision last week, right? Like, that's Jade made her return. That was a great reaction, too, by the way, when she came back. Like, the people wanted her to come back.
Of course.
Like, people wanted to see this match. And they gave it a little bit of build on Dynamite, saying this is happening and all this, but you're right. It's very rushed, and it's unfortunate. I mean, it's a huge loss for AEW, this, if Jade's leaving, which it more likely seems like she is, but good for her, though, because if she goes right to WWE, right to, like, the big time, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, I think she could do very well there.
Think about it. Like, she comes in right away as a star. She only had to put one person over. That was it.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yep.
Like, AEW lost big time on this one.
She's a megastar that's been taught how to wrestle, taught how to perform in pro wrestling. She can talk. She's got an incredible look. She's got over in AEW using her real name that she can use in WWE. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they might just call her Jade, though. I think, though, I could see that happening.
I don't know. I think Jade Cargill is already just made, and if you put her into the WWE with a similar gimmick, same name, she can come in and she could be a top star in the division. And that division's just already stacked. So adding Jade Cargill to the WWE women's roster would be huge. Huge. And a giant loss for AEW. I don't know how they would let that happen. Good job, Tony Khan.
It's unfortunate whatever happened there. It seemed like she was saying one thing, and obviously it's a different thing. She was saying, like, things were great, and she liked working with Tony. Tony's the only person she wanted to work with, but clearly there was an issue with something, and they couldn't get a new contract done. It's highly unfortunate. And it's crazy, too. Like,
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, go on.
No.
Well, I was just going to say, like, when I was looking for the AEW tickets, I was looking them up. The site I went to, the first person on the graphic they have is Jade right in the center. Punk's on, like, the left side. And I'm like, wow, Montreal, they couldn't update this, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But Jade right in the center, I'm like, wow, this is just terrible luck for AEW for that to happen.
I don't know how they can let her go. I don't know how that would happen. But, it's AEW. Weird things happen. Those tickets, by the way, went on sale for Collision and Dynamite in Montreal, December 5th and 6th. They've sold, like, nothing. They've sold, 3,000 tickets for Dynamite? It's a 20,000-seat arena.
So. Yeah, but they've only opened up, I think, 5,000. Like, it's only 5,000 that you can get so far.
And they haven't sold 5,000. On pre-sale, you should sell 5,000. It's your first show here. That shows you the lack of interest in AEW. And also, people are like, do I go to Collision or Dynamite? There's no combo ticket.
Big problem.
There's no combo ticket either. You can't get a ticket for both where you sit in the same seat both nights, which WWE offers when they go back-to-back. They didn't do that.
Right.
Very little promotion. I mean, it's really weak, and I'm surprised at how few tickets have sold so far. When WWE comes here, they could sell way more, way faster. When they're doing TV here, people are buying tickets. This is the first AEW TV show here, and I feel like it's going to be an empty Bell Center, man. What are they going to have, 5,000 people?
They'll definitely probably in between 5 to 10, I think. It's probably going to be something like that. The problem is the two shows back to back. It should have just been one show, so it's like, oh, I really got to go to this one. This is my only chance. That would have made it special. But the fact that it's 2 nights, here's another thing that people have started to catch on, I think. The longer you wait, the more the ticket prices go down. People are seeing this for Grand Slam now. Yeah, people have seen this for Grand Slam, and people are pissed. Because apparently people pay hundreds of dollars for Grand Slam, and now it's like $30 for tickets. So people are mad.
Well, I might be mad too. I already got tickets. What the hell?
Yeah, but I'm sure you got fantastic. Like, we're going to be able to see you on TV, like tickets. I'm sure.
I think you'll probably see me on Collision. I think for the tickets that I got, I think you'll probably see me on Collision. I don't know about Dynamite, possibly, but Collision, I think you'll see me a lot.
Okay.
Possibly. I don't know. But yeah, they're pretty good. They weren't that expensive either compared to other shows or wrestling things. It wasn't so bad. But yeah, they didn't sell very many. And I was a little surprised because I thought that they would do a little bit better first time here, but I think there's a lack of interest in AEW because people see like, well, you don't have CM Punk. The kind of company is in a weird spot. It's in disarray. And have you ever been to the Bell Center with like 8,000 people in it?
Well, do you remember the SmackDown we went to?
Which one?
Okay, we sat together. It's been like many years.
Man,
you actually had most of your family there with you.
Okay,
this is before your son was there.
Okay.
But yeah, remember like the camera side was completely empty.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen that.
And that's because they did Raw and SmackDown back to back. Like
right.
They should thank God they got rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
Monday to Tuesday stuff, that doesn't work. Monday was fantastic. Raw, I think it was almost sold out.
Mm-hmm.
But SmackDown was super empty.
Yeah.
And again, like I think AEW is going to have this problem. People will love going to Dynamite because that's the big show live. Collision, like the people watch it, like you said, and people get it.
And you also don't know which show to go to because you don't know who's going to be on what.
Right.
I got tickets for both shows because I'm a hardcore wrestling fan and I need to see Bryan Danielson. Like, I want to make sure when AEW comes to town, if Bryan Danielson's going to be in a wrestling match, that I'm there to see it. That's why I got tickets for both shows, because I don't want to miss Bryan Danielson or a Kenny Omega match. Like, if they give us one really good match with somebody, I want to be there to see it. So I'm there for both shows. But a lot of people are just going to pick one or the other. And it's hard to choose because you don't know what to expect. And I think most people will pick Dynamite, and then who's going to go to Collision? Also, Collision airs on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
But it's going to be on the Tuesday. So they're going to set things up on a Wednesday for things we already saw the night before.
I'm not disagreeing with you on the logic on this. We talked about this off air, I think. Yeah, it's kind of messed up. And it doesn't look good, too, on television. Like, you can tell it's kind of... It's all predetermined stuff, and everything's kind of just wrapped in a just well-edited fashion where it's like, it doesn't feel as good when it's live. Like, anything can happen kind of thing. When it's edited, just, quick cuts, go to this, long replay so we can skip through some stuff we don't want to show you.
Yeah.
By the way, a great match, Jade Cargill against Statlander. Finished kind of meh, but it was a decent back and forth match. It was one of Jade's better matches.
Yeah.
And a decent way to end, I think, for her. Oh, they're actually going to do the hug. Wow.
I mean, Jade is ready for prime time. She's ready for the WWE. They're shaking hands here after the match.
I don't like the no-selling, but whatever.
Yeah, they're hugging. This seems like Jade's last match in AEW. This is smart, though. This is, one of the few smart booking moves from AEW where they have somebody leaving and they're writing them off properly. So many of their stars have left the company without any kind of send-off match where they lose and then you don't see them again. CM Punk still has a claim at their world championship. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just so many.
At least he left.
Did Cody lose on the way out? Or did he just cut awkward promos?
He put over Sammy Guevara, actually. That was his exit. Okay. Maybe not the exit you wanted, but he actually put somebody over in the end.
Yeah.
And Guevara won the TNT title, or the interim TNT title.
Right. But people weren't sure that he was ending at that point. I think it's good, though, that Cargill lost clean here to Statlander. It's too bad it was on a Rampage. I think on a Dynamite, like if you would have held off to Grand Slam, it might have been a little bit better to have the big title match there and have more eyeballs on Statlander's big win, because that's her biggest win of her TNT, TBS, whatever title run.
Yeah.
You know, that's the biggest win that she's had this run. She just beat Jade Cargill. Jade Cargill was undefeated, and she beat her at the pay-per-view like a month or two ago. Haven't seen Cargill since, but she beat her after Cargill had already wrestled that match. Now she just beats her clean in a real match, and it's on Rampage at 11 o'clock at night. Like, I don't know. It kind of sucks for Statlander's title run. You know, it doesn't. Like, it's good. You have to have Jade lose on the way out. That makes sense. If she's losing, for sure. Tons of great matches for her in WWE. But for Statlander, it doesn't do too much. She got the win, but not on a big stage. Big win, small stage. That's not how you're supposed to do it.
Well, I don't disagree with you. It would have been better if this was on Dynamite. But I guess they felt Dynamite was already booked show, so... And they had to build up towards Grand Slam, so this is what they had the leftovers. That's what Rampage is just the leftovers from Dynamite that don't fit. So it's one of those matches they had to get it done because they wouldn't be able to get it done any other time. So at least they got it done.
Yeah,
and
but poor planning, though. Poor planning.
Not agree with planning, but you say Punk left, but Punk came back tonight, so Punk's still busy doing stuff.
What?
You didn't watch CFFC? He's doing the broadcast tonight. For cause, apparently.
What do you mean?
Didn't see that? They said in introducing back for cause. CM Punk.
Because he was fired for cause, right? So they're making little jokes. Yeah. Well, WWE looking real good right now. AEW looking a little shoddy. WWE has The Rock and John Cena on an average Friday night in Denver. And AEW is losing Jade Cargill to WWE, possibly, and maybe CM Punk too. Cool.
I don't know about that, though. You heard what Nick Khan said, though, about CM Punk, right?
A lot of respect. Respect. We respect him.
Wishing the best, whatever he does, wishing the best.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't do business with him.
No, it doesn't mean that they wouldn't, but it sounds like they don't have any plans to do anything right now.
Yeah, because maybe they need to wait. It might be a legal thing too, where they need to figure out what his issue is with AEW, what happened, and there may be some things going on there. I don't know. But I wouldn't go.
Tonight, though, I wonder.
Say it again.
If he's joking about it tonight, I'm starting to wonder. It's like that's interesting.
Yeah. But if I were WWE, I wouldn't go after CM Punk right away. I think you kind of wait, see what's going on with him. I think he needs them more than they need him right now.
I say, obviously, if nothing happens in Survivor Series, it's probably not going to happen, right?
Yeah. And I don't know if they need him. They got Punk and Cena and Roman and Brock and Cody and, that's pretty good. They got a lot.
Well, you always said they could always have more. And,
of course,
in terms of stars to bring back, besides The Rock, who else is there? That's not a big list.
That's true. After The Rock, CM Punk is always a really good option for sure. Doug Hepburn dropped the super chat, says, Dave, what's your opinion on Miguel Cabrera? The baseball player? I guess because
would be my guess.
Doug is a big Detroit Tigers fan. I get it. He's a great ball player. Legend of baseball. Probably goes into the Baseball Hall of Fame, right? I don't know what his career numbers are. He didn't play for the Yankees. As Alex Tarras pointed out, Yankees won tonight, which is always nice. He never played for the Yankees, so I really don't care about him too much. But yeah, I mean, he's good. He's very good.
You don't hate him like Vlad Guerrero Jr. at least, so that's good.
No, I don't like Vlad Jr. because he plays for the Blue Jays, but I got no beef with the Tigers. Cabrera is a, all-star legend of baseball for sure. One of the best. Yeah, and it's his last season this year. I know a lot of people are celebrating him this year. I saw a lot of talk about Miguel Cabrera when the Yankees played the Tigers this year. And, yeah. I mean, I don't have a ton of thoughts on him, other than he was very good at baseball, and I assume he'll go into the Baseball Hall of Fame based on the longevity of his career, which would dictate big numbers as far as what he's put up over time, right? He played 20, 25 seasons, whatever it's been. I mean, you probably have 400 home runs, I guess. Maybe 500. Does he have 500?
Or you have to look that one up, I'm not sure. But it's nice that you put over people that aren't with the Yankees, despite that they probably played very well against the Yankees in the past.
Yeah, sure. I mean, career home run, yeah, 510 home runs. So yeah, that probably puts him in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Career batting average of 307 with 510 home runs. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah. That's a Hall of Famer right there. For sure. And apparently the Rays are tied for first place. I don't give a shit about the Rays. All right? Screw the Rays. I don't care. The baseball season for me is going to be over when the regular season ends, because that's when the Yankee season ends. Whatever happens after that is irrelevant to me. I don't care. I don't care who wins the World Series if it's not the Yankees. It means nothing to me. Like, it could be anybody winning the World Series. Like, I'd rather it not be Boston, Houston, or Toronto. It's not going to be Boston, let's be honest. They have no chance. They're as shitty as the Yankees.
Toronto making the playoffs right now. Toronto's looking really bad right now.
Yeah, Toronto, hopefully they don't make the playoffs, because I don't like to see them succeed. I don't like to see the Red Sox succeed, and I don't like to see Houston succeed. I think Houston will probably make the playoffs, though, right?
Yeah, Houston will, yeah.
Yeah,
Houston's pretty good.
I hate them very much, but, they're a bunch of cheaters. They're garbage. But other than that, I'm just rooting against those teams. Like, I'm just rooting against Houston. I just want to make sure Houston doesn't win. Any other team I really don't care about. I just want the Yankees to win. And there's those three teams, I want them to lose. Jays, Red Sox, and Astros. And the Rays, whatever. My dad likes the Rays because he got tricked into believing that they were coming into Montreal, which was never going to happen. It's okay. A lot of people got fooled into that whole pipe dream. It's unfortunate. But, yeah, I don't care about the Rays. The Rays could win. I mean, I guess it'd be nice. But I really hate that Randy Arizona guy, so fuck the Rays. All right?
Well, I think in the National League, the Atlanta Braves look pretty fantastic, so they might come out of that one.
I'd like to see the Orioles win.
Well, I think they might do okay, but I don't know if they'll go all the way. Really? To the World Series?
I mean, I don't know if they have a chance. I really don't care. Like, I don't follow baseball. This is what you guys got to understand. Like, I follow the Yankees. I don't follow all of baseball. I know what the Yankees are doing. Jason Dominguez, the Martian, is having goddamn Tommy John surgery. Okay, that's what I'm concerned with. One of our pitchers went down tonight. He got a line drive in the face, came up bleeding, had to be carted off the field. That's what I'm concerned with. I don't care about what's going on with other teams. Who cares? It's irrelevant to me. Are they the Yankees? I don't care. I don't care about other players. I don't care about other teams. I don't care about any of that. I just care about what's going on with the Yankees. The only time I care about players on other teams is when the Yankees might acquire them to be players on the Yankees. That's what I want to see. Good players come to the Yankees. Good players bought by the Yankees to come and win World Series rings. That's all I want to see. This offseason better be just buying season. Just buy everybody. Every good player you could possibly get a hold of that can make the Yankees better, buy them. Just do it. What are we waiting for? There's no rebuild. The Yankees don't do rebuilds and say, "Oh, be patient." Ridiculous. That's for loser franchises, not the Yankees. Yankees don't do that.
I mean, it was what, the worst season they said, like since the 90s or something. Like,
oh, it's garbage, cursed, horrible season. I think
so
there's a few
worse,
things they need to adjust. But, huh?
Well, it's your starting rotation, obviously. That's a big thing to change up.
Maybe add a starter. But I think overall, not bad. We're going to have we got a Cy Young award-winning pitcher here. Garrett Cole's going to win this Cy Young this year. He's the best pitcher in baseball. Start there. Maybe Rodon can get his shit together and be useful next year. Got that guy from Japan they're about to sign. The Yankees are going to sign this guy from Japan who's like some phenom, incredible pitcher.
Are they signing him? You sure?
I think so. They're going to offer him tons of money. Why wouldn't he come to New York?
I heard the Sox were interested too. Oh, because I think you may have said something again that your echo popped up.
I haven't heard anything in the last minute, but you can listen to all your requests in the privacy section of the Alexa.
Okay, Alexa, stop. What the hell is that? Sick of that thing.
You said something.
Punch that thing in its face.
I don't think she liked that.
All right. Enough baseball talk. Back to the wrestling. Jade Cargill in WWE. Raw or SmackDown?
Probably Raw. I feel SmackDown's kind of loaded right now.
Yeah, I think it's overloaded. Raw is right. I agree. Raw against Rhea Ripley. But SmackDown, I think you got the cool matchups. Jade Cargill,
well, of course.
Asuka. Jade Cargill, Charlotte Flair. Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair. Money. Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley. Yeah. Jade Cargill, Raquel Rodriguez. I think SmackDown. Like, Raw needs her more, but SmackDown will be more fun. There's more to do.
I agree.
Like, I don't care to see Jade Cargill wrestle Becky Lynch. I want to see her wrestle Charlotte Flair. I don't really want to see her wrestle Rhea Ripley as much as I'd like to see her wrestle Bianca Belair.
Right. You're right. But again, like, it's what they need. Like, SmackDown, it feels like everything's charted pretty much all the way to WrestleMania, it seems. Where Raw, it's like so many holes. Like, I could see Jade easily get involved in the tag team division and help that out a lot. And then you can put her on both shows.
They're never going to do anything with the tag team division, man. Come on, why are you going to waste Jade Cargill in the women's tag team division? So she could, feud with Chelsea Green? Come on.
Well, you can get rid of that, like, terrible team and then actually build up a good team with Jade.
Man, there's no division. There's no teams in that division. It's a joke. I would not have Jade as a tag team wrestler at all. Sadly,
I put Nia and Jade together. Ugh. People would love that, I'm sure.
Oh my god, I don't want to see that. They just added Nia to boost the Raw women's roster. I guess Becky Lynch is taking a bit of a break from Raw, going to do some stuff on NXT. She just beat the NXT Women's Champion, Tiffany Stratton. Is that her name?
That's right.
I get that right?
That's it, yeah.
She's pretty good. I've seen a little bit of her. She's got a good look. She can wrestle quite well. She's got a gimmick going. Like, she's got personality. She can talk. She might be a star too, Tiffany Stratton, right? I think Becky Lynch went down to NXT because she saw the potential, and she's like, I want to work with her and see what she's got and kind of give her a taste of the big time Beck's main roster, you know? Becky took the NXT title from her, but I think she'll probably drop it back to her or somebody else in NXT that maybe Becky wants to work with, but I think that Tiffany Stratton definitely has some potential. I've seen a lot of people giving her high praise, a lot of buzz around her. So Becky going down to work with her, I think, was a good sign, right, for her future. There's a lot of stars.
Yeah, well, I think that they're really trying with her. I think Stratton, like, they're pushing her, and like there is potential there. I don't know if like it's tough with the women because like it doesn't seem to matter if they're ready or not. They just kind of put them on the main roster anyways, and it's like, well, just do whatever, because it doesn't seem to matter if it's like you're good enough. They just have a spot to fill kind of thing. But from what I've seen, like she's all right. And just some things are just like, well, that seemed kind of slow or whatever, or it felt like you're just going through the motions in a sense. But that's also their style as well. So they have everything done A to Z. So it just feels like she follows that. And I don't know if she does anything out of the ordinary besides what her playlist in a sense.
Yeah.
So that's something I worry about.
Well, I think she's still pretty new. She's just showing a lot of potential so far, right? But I don't know how long she's been wrestling, and wrestling with Becky Lynch. I mean, I'm sure she learned a lot, and she's going to keep learning and keep evolving and getting better all the time, right? I mean, look at, so many of them. Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Jade Cargill, even. I mean, look at the match Jade Cargill had tonight compared to what she was a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know? There's a lot of improvement there. And that's what they need. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these people, especially I feel like in the women's division, are thrown in there quick without really being ready. But eventually they become ready because they practice and they work at it. And over time, they get better. Some of them get better than others. But, I mean, it happens, you know? You're green, you improve if you're good. A lot of them have improved and become really good.
Yeah, well, we get this on-the-job training kind of stuff, and like we have to watch this at the same time. It's like, well, they weren't that good. Eventually, they get better, or somewhat better, or maybe somewhat not at all. And we've seen with Dominic Mysterio, it started really bad. It's gotten better somewhat, and we're at this point where we're just in this whole loop now. Where we're just doing the same thing over and over again. Hence, this week on Raw.
Yeah, he interrupted Cody.
And what are we getting on Raw this Monday?
Yeah, it's going to be Cody versus Dirty Dom on Raw Monday, which... Didn't they do that on, like, a pay-per-view?
Yes, Money in the Bank.
Ugh. Cody had this long program with Brock Lesnar, beats Brock Lesnar, and has done nothing since. The booking of Cody Rhodes post SummerSlam, which is now a couple of months ago, has been just abysmal. He's come out. They're like, Cody Rhodes is going to speak. He comes out, says the name of the town. What do you want to talk about? Says a name of a wrestler that you're interested in him feuding with. Like he'll go, Seth Rollins. And then the Judgment Day comes out, and they're like, Cody, you suck. Cody, da-da-da. Damian Priest and Finn attack him, and then Sammy and Kevin make the save. Or Dominic Mysterio says some stuff, and Cody hits him with a Cody cutter. Like, it's like, you see Cody, and you're like, okay, this is good. Cody's a big-time player. What's he going to do? And then he comes out, and he's like, all right, Seth Rollins, the World Championship, I think, and then he's interrupted. Or this week, he's like, hey, everybody, main event Jey Uso. How about this guy? And then interrupted immediately. And it's like, well, we never get what Cody's going to say about these guys. We never get Cody saying something about somebody we care about. Instead, we have Cody wrestling Dominic Mysterio in a match you know Cody's going to win. And it's been a couple of months of this stuff. Last premium live event or whatever it is, Cody was on the Grayson Waller experience effect, whatever it is. I don't even know. It doesn't matter what it's called. It doesn't matter what it's called because it was a waste of time, and we're just wasting time here with Cody, and I don't get it. I mean, there's going to be a plan at some point. There's going to be something with Cody at some point. You figure, you hope. The match with Seth Rollins is right there, but they're not going there yet because we had Payback with Seth and Shinsuke, where Seth just beat Shinsuke, but Shinsuke attacked him afterwards. So now that whole Seth-Shinsuke thing is continuing to Fastlane, which is another throwaway premium live event from the WWE, so you're not going to do Cody and Seth there. I don't know when you finally get around to doing Cody and Seth. It seems like it's the match to make. They wrestled 3 times last year or 2 years ago or whenever it was. Now it feels like an eternity ago. Cody beat him 3 times. Seth is the champion on Raw. Cody wants to be the champion. Put them together. But we're just waiting and doing this dumb stuff for months and months and months. The Brock Lesnar thing was a distraction, was a sideways little extra story, right? It was a side path, a side quest for Cody. He did it. It was a good one. It was Brock. Brock makes sense. Brock is as good as a world championship. He's the beast Brock Lesnar. Very few get to wrestle him, let alone have a 3-match program with him. It's a big deal. Cody did that. Cool. Since then, though, they haven't built off Cody, and I think he's losing momentum. I think the pops are getting a little bit quieter. I think people still love him, and people still root for him and want to see him do well, and they enjoy what he does. But at the same time, it's like we're spinning our wheels here with Cody. We're not going anywhere. So what is this? And Cody never, he never talks and gets to the point. When Cody first started in WWE, he cut 6 promos a show. It'd be like Cody in the ring, Cody backstage again, Cody back in the ring, Cody with a match, Cody with another promo after the match. It was like constant Cody talking. Now Cody talks for 20 seconds. Dominic Mysterio interrupts him. He has a match, and we never hear from him again. What's on your mind, Cody? Who do you want to wrestle, Cody? How come nobody backstage puts a microphone in your face, Cody? It's just stagnant with Cody Rhodes. And at some point you figure he'll wrestle Seth, he'll beat Seth, Damian Priest will cash in, and then Damian Priest will be champion. So Cody will get it, but he won't get it. That's how I figure it's going to play out. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Pull the trigger.
Well, I think they're waiting because there's going to be a big match, I think, with Judgment Day at Survivor Series, right? More than likely a War Games where it's going to be Team Cody against Judgment Day. I think we're waiting for that. Once we get through that, I think then they can finally have Cody move on to face Seth, I think. So we're looking at maybe the Rumble. We got Cody in versus Seth.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed. But that's a long wait still.
Yeah. It's January. Yeah. But while we wait, Cody's losing a ton of momentum. So much. Because other guys in WWE are exciting and moving upwards. And, I would argue LA Knight is more over than Cody Rhodes right now.
He's more progressive right now. I would say that. I don't know if he's more over right now, but he's definitely gaining momentum where Cody is just flatlining right now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it's close there. Very close.
Cody's kind of hit a peak, whereas LA Knight hasn't hit the peak, and we're not really sure where the peak is.
Right.
And he could surpass Cody because Cody's not rising. He's just there.
Yeah, it's crazy, but it's true. You're 100% right about that, yeah.
Gunther is doing great work. He's setting records. Longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time. Having incredible matches with Gable. Running his own group, Imperium, that is doing big things on Raw. Having great matches every time he's in the ring. He's got the presence. He's got the look. He's got everything. Gunther is another guy on the rise, where the more you see of him, the more you think, wow, he never fails. He always delivers. So where's the end to this? When do you stop pushing this guy? How far does this guy go? Because it seems like he could go all the way to the top. he is a main event player. That seems obvious to me. He's got everything going for him. The way he acts, the way he reacts. His work in the ring, obviously, for years has been incredible, but it's everything else that he's got going for him now. The promos. It's all very convincing, very believable. Not boring, but not like comedic in any way. Not trying to be funny. He's a heel that's intimidating, well-spoken, and interesting to listen to, which you don't see very often in pro wrestling, especially these days. Most heels fall back on being a joke. Being the joke. Yep. Tiny Balls comes to mind as a heel, just kind of ha-ha, stupid, lame, not serious, not taken seriously, not intimidating. Gunther is intimidating. That promo he did on Raw this week was solid work. Gable came out, did solid work. I think they'll have a match at Fastlane. It'll be very good.
Well, two things. One, you notice they've changed it now where it's like, it's not really a trilogy yet because they haven't had 3 title matches. They've had 3 matches, but only had 2 title matches. So there has to be a 3rd title match for it to be a trilogy. So they've somewhat changed the history a little bit. And 2, I thought like Gunther was more of the face in this because he brought a better point to Gable, where Gable's like, "Oh, you made my kids cry. It's your fault." No, Gable, you're a bad father. One, you lost. It's your fault. Like you came up short. And yeah, like what kind of dad puts the kids in the front row for that? That's on you. And again, this goes back to Mick Foley. It's Foley's fault. Like things are gonna happen. Like it's on you.
But didn't Gunther kind of like scowl at the kids or something? Wasn't he kind of?
Again, like the reason like they cried was because of the loss, which was Gable's fault. He lost clean. There was no cheating involved.
Okay. I mean, that's fair enough, but it's a good feud. It's one of the better feuds they have going right now.
I don't think Gable's going to beat him for the title, though.
I don't know. I think he might. I'd like to see it. Because Gable's a guy who's just so good. He should be elevated. I think it's time for Gunther to graduate from Intercontinental Champion to main event, possibly World Champion.
I don't disagree with you, but I don't think they're ready for that yet. Because that's a little too heavy right now, that world title scene. Because you have still Money in the Bank around. You got to get rid of that. Then I think you get Gunther to go up a bit. But when you have that Money in the Bank looming, it's too crowded for him.
They're wasting time with the world title. They're doing things that are not interesting that are leading, it's leading to nowhere, this whole Shinsuke Nakamura thing. One pay-per-view is fine. The fact that they're doing it again at Fastlane. We have all these guys that are on the rise. Gunther. I'm not going to put LA Knight into that group because he's mostly on SmackDown, but you got Gunther, you got Cody Rhodes, you got Damian Priest with the Money in the Bank. Those 3 guys are the real threats to the world title that Seth Rollins has. Nakamura is just there filling time. We are wasting time. You want to establish these guys as the main event guys? Put them in main event matches. You want to make Seth Rollins' title reign mean something? Have him defend against people that are actually real. Have him actually have matches that people care about, that people might want to see. Because I don't know anybody that's talking about Seth Rollins and Shinsuke Nakamura. We've talked about wrestling for over an hour now. The world champion of Raw hasn't come up because he's not doing anything new or interesting. And he's supposed to be the world champion of Raw. He's the only world champion the WWE has around these days. And he's just doing nothing. What do you want to watch when you watch Monday Night Raw? Who do you want to see? I want to see Cody. That's about it. I want to see what Cody's doing. I want to see what Rhea's doing. You know, I'm kind of interested in what Jey Uso is doing because I'm not sure where he fits in. He had a match there with Kevin Owens, or he teamed with Kevin Owens, and then
yeah.
There was some miscommunication. He kicked Kevin Owens, right, or something?
Yeah. That's the start of Raw.
Kevin's mad at him, and nobody knows how to feel about Jey Uso, and Drew McIntyre's still mad at Jey Uso for being mean to him when Jey was still in the bloodline, so they're going to have a match next week. So the Jey Uso thing is kind of interesting because I'm not really sure where they're going with it. But Seth Rollins is, like, not on the list of highlights or things to catch up on and pay attention to. You know, like, it's all right. Him and Nakamura are still kind of doing their thing. Seth goes in the ring. He's a visionary. He's a da-da-da. He's a revolutionary, which, I mean, what has he revolutionized? I'm not really sure. He does a, oh, and that's about it. And, you know, he's not the first to do that. So it's just kind of plain and boring at this point. And as far as highlights of Raw, he's not one of them. But he's supposed to be the world champion. So I would make it more interesting by having him in programs with people that wrestling fans care about. No offense to Shinsuke Nakamura, he's an incredible talent, but the way he's been booked for the past several years, nobody believes he's going to be the one to beat Seth Rollins. He was Rick Boog's tag team partner like 6 months ago. Like, what? Come on.
Hey, you're not wrong, but it really feels like what Seth is doing his own personal kind of quest, where it's like, I want to wrestle the guys I want to wrestle. Like, apparently he wants to wrestle Ricochet coming up soon, you know, just because he feels Ricochet, he's worked hard, and he thinks he can have a good match with Ricochet. I'm sure he can. It doesn't really add up to, like, why he should get a title shot, but, you know, it's just a title to appease him. That's it, you know. He's one of their big stars. He can't be the world champion, so we'll give him a title, and we'll say Raw is his show and keep him happy that way. And that's what's pretty much happened.
But anybody looking in and watching the show is like, well, the title means nothing. Gunther's the real champion on that show. He's the one people actually want to see. I don't know, man. It's not working for me. It's not working. And, like, you can't just appease the guy and just... Cause wrestling fans want a champion that they want to watch. If he's going to be headlining shows, it should be matches people want to see.
Well, I feel another promotion was trying to do the same thing. It didn't quite work out, but we've seen this in other feds. People try this just to appease somebody with their own show and their own setup. Doesn't work out sometimes, but at least for now, Seth's doing okay.
That's the WrestleMania match I want to see. That guy against Seth Rollins. CM Punk against Seth Rollins. That's the match.
Well, that's
you want to give me a night one main event that you could... Like, if you give Rock Roman night 2, night 1, Seth Punk for the other belt, ooh, that's a killer double main event right there. That's money.
I don't disagree, but, you know, then we're sexist because we don't have a women's main event, so, you know, they got to build that up. So,
well, what match is better than that? You just got to have a better match. If there isn't one, then sorry. I mean, I don't know. If you have Seth versus Punk and Rock versus Roman, find me a women's match that you would put over that as the headlining match. Like, maybe Jade Cargill versus Charlotte Flair, or Jade Cargill versus Bianca Belair, or Bianca Belair versus Rhea Ripley, or, like, maybe I could see that.
I don't know if that's bigger than those other matches you just listed, to be honest, but they don't have the heat.
No, I don't think so either. But I will say this, because Seth's belt is so mid-card, I could see him versus Punk being an opener or a middle-of-the-card match, because that belt means absolutely nothing. It's a grudge match more than anything.
That's sad. If that,
It's true though.
You have Punk and Seth, and like that's an opening match. Like sad, very sad.
Yeah, but you can see it.
I kind of hope it doesn't happen if that's the case. To be honest.
Okay. Well, John Cena looks like he's gonna have a tag team match at Fastlane, so that'll be something to watch. John Cena was the guest on the Grayson Waller Effect tonight. Grayson Waller said, Cena, you know, you're the best ever, but you're not the best anymore, and you lost to Austin Theory at WrestleMania. And then Cena gets mad, and he takes his shirt off. And then Jimmy Uso comes out, and he's like, get out of here, Cena. Nobody wants you here. You're awful. You're the worst, John Cena. And Johnny North at home was like, yeah, Cena, you suck. Get out of here. Because Johnny doesn't like anything John Cena does. You got to recognize, though, John, having The Rock and John Cena on the same show, I mean, not just The Rock, but John Cena too. And the moment there that they had backstage, that was pretty cool. Where The Rock's backstage, and then Cena comes in, and they kind of have a stare down, and The Rock's like, come on, man, I see you trying not to smile, and then they hugged. That was cool. And then the Cena was like, welcome home, and The Rock's like, thank you. That was, I mean, just seeing Cena and The Rock together, having John Cena there added to the show, Johnny. Will you admit that, or are you such a Cena hater still that you won't give him any credit?
You know, it adds star power. I won't deny that because, like, Cena's over than a lot of guys currently on the roster. Won't deny that. However,
right.
the Rock upstaged him, though, without question. Like, the Rock segment was far better than Cena's main event segment. Like, the Rock was the main event. Cena was just, like, what's left over.
I disagree.
He even said it, like...
Yes.
But he said it, too.
Yeah, no, that's true. The Rock was the biggest part of the show, but it was also a surprise, and it was also like Cena was advertised.
Mm-hmm.
But The Rock didn't build to anything. Like, he didn't set anything up tonight. Cena set something up. Like, Cena's angle was actually a story that we're going to see going forward. Well,
what is it?
The story is it's going to be John Cena and AJ Styles versus Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa at Fastlane.
Is that official?
It's not official, but I think people have reported that. I've seen that online, that's the match that they're doing.
I'm surprised, but okay. Because, like, Jimmy, it seems, still wasn't in the bloodline, though. Like, that didn't seem like that was all ironed out.
Right.
There was still some pushing and shoving there.
So, Solo and Heyman had some discussion, and Heyman's like, well, Jimmy's not in the bloodline, but he thinks he's in the bloodline, but only Roman Reigns can make that call, and he hasn't made the call yet, right? So we don't know where Jimmy stands with the group. Jimmy Uso came out and confronted John Cena, and then Solo Sikoa came out and went and kind of goozled Jimmy, and you thought he was going to attack Jimmy and hit him with the Samoan spike, but then he turned around and super kicked Cena, and then Jimmy and Solo put the boots to Cena, so they were working together, and then AJ Styles came out to make the save, and AJ was mad because he had a match earlier in the night with Finn Balor, and Jimmy Uso distracted him, which allowed Finn to get the win, so AJ has beef with Jimmy Uso, so he was there helping John Cena, and then Cena and AJ Styles, they got Solo out of the ring, and then John Cena hit the 5-knuckle shuffle on Jimmy Uso, but Heyman, as Cena had Jimmy set up for the attitude adjustment, Heyman told Solo, go save him. So Solo did save Jimmy from the attitude adjustment, pulled him out of the ring. So there was some allegiance there that was sanctioned by Heyman even between Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa, and I think they're going to build on that, and I think they will have a match at Fastlane. It does make a lot of sense. You need something to sell that show, and John Cena, he's back, and he's going to wrestle at some point. A tag team match seems like the way to do it. Him and AJ Styles, I mean, AJ can handle a lot of the work. Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso seem like really quality opponents. It's a big match. I think they set that up tonight, and I think they'll make it official in the coming weeks. Fastlane is in
3 weeks.
3 weeks. The 7th in Indianapolis. It's happening, John. Cena and Styles versus Uso and Sikoa.
Well, this has also helped build the fact that AJ more than likely is going to wrestle Roman in Saudi Arabia. So a lot's being built all at once right here. And I wouldn't be surprised. That'd be a pretty good match if they can get Solo versus Cena. Will Cena wrestle in Saudi Arabia? Probably not.
Why not?
Well, remember, wasn't there a big backlash after he wrestled there and then never wrestled there ever again after he cut that promo? Saying how great it was?
Oh, I don't know. I think he would.
Okay.
I think he would. I'm not sure if he will. I don't know for sure, but I would guess that he will be on that card because he seems to be wrestling with WWE for the next couple of months at least. But when's that Saudi Arabia card? November? I think he's kind of maybe wrapping up in late October.
Okay. Well,
so maybe
you'll miss it then.
Yeah. But AJ Styles against Roman Reigns, eh? Is that the projected match?
Well, that's what apparently off last week. And looking back on it, it kind of makes a lot of sense. If we're going down that path, it kind of started last week, and it's like, yeah, I could see that. Honestly, I kept saying, Bad Bunny, and I feel like that match will happen eventually, but maybe just not the next Saudi Arabia show, maybe another one. But it's going to happen, I think.
Roman Reigns versus Bad Bunny.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Maybe next time they go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, sure. Whenever it can work, they get the dates to work out, but I definitely think we're going to have that match. Because they put him over strong in all the matches that he's had.
Yeah.
So, it just makes sense.
I don't really want to see that, though, right?
I mean, what else is it for Roman to do when you think about it? It's better to have a celebrity garbage match than just have a match where it's wow, this means nothing. AJ will be fine because AJ's fantastic, but there's few guys like that can pull out amazing matches like AJ can.
I think he could have the rematch with Cody on a non-WrestleMania show and beat Cody, and that could be a huge match. I think the WrestleMania match with The Rock is a big one he can do. But yeah, I think that there are limited matches. A match with Seth Rollins, possibly for a unification at some point, could happen. LA Knight, maybe, at some point.
Yeah, that could happen, yeah.
LA Knight beat The Miz tonight in a match that was, it featured The Miz, so what are you going to do? But LA Knight won, and then he cut a promo and said, everybody knows that I'm looking for gold. I'm trying to be a champion here in WWE, and it doesn't matter if it's Rey Mysterio. It doesn't matter if it's Gunther. And then he realized, man, I'm saying it doesn't matter a lot in the Rock's here. Maybe I should say it doesn't matter, another way to say it. You notice that? He kind of switched it up. He's like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I was like, whoa. And then Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns even. Doesn't matter. Everybody's saying LA Knight. Yeah. Yeah. What's funny is my daughter, who's almost a year and a half, she does the LA Knight thing. When my son does it, he goes, everybody's saying L.A. Knight. And then my little daughter, who doesn't really speak because she's not quite a year and a half, she goes, yeah. In the cadence of LA Knight, she can say yeah. I mean, she's got a few words that she says, but So it's even over with the children. The children are loving it, My son loves it.
Well, it makes sense. It's something that's catchy. It's easy to recognize. It's pretty good. The merch, I think, looks atrocious, but it sells. So, I mean, if it's working, it's working. Keep running with it. And LA has great charisma. His promos are pretty good. So, yeah, just keep going with them, man. Like you said earlier in the show, we haven't even reached his peak yet. It's just completely on the rise. So just let it rise and see how far you can go with it. Maybe don't do the Roman match right now because maybe he can get even hotter than he is right now.
Yeah. How I mean, I think sky's the limit for him. Right? I don't think he's the one to beat Roman Reigns, though. I don't think that's where he should go.
No. But he had that whole confrontation with Heyman, and wasn't Heyman watching what he was saying afterward or something? And so it was like, well, let's not worry about that. That's, we gotta worry about Jimmy right now.
Yeah. I mean, Solo did want to address the LA Knight problem. So it seemed like they were teasing something with Roman, but I don't know if that's where they're going to go.
Not now. Later.
I'm not even sure about that. Because he mentioned all the champions. He said, U.S. Championship, Intercontinental, World Champion, even Roman Reigns, he said. But I don't know if that was so much a real thing, real foreshadowing, as much as, we're going to Solo Sikoa next, and he's got to say some things about Jimmy Uso, so here's a nice transition. I'm not sure, how much of it was real. I think, if anything, that was a promo saying he's going to win the Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, definitely. I'm just, because I've been given that promo before, like in a federation before, when I was in the NECW. Like, they gave me the promo of saying, name all the champions. It doesn't matter. I'm coming after any of them right now. And like, they have that idea where it's like, yeah, you could face the world champion. You could face the television champion. Maybe you'll go for the tag team titles. Keep it wide open, because the possibilities are there. Every single one of them. And let's see which one catches on fire. So maybe that's it. That's why you set the ball. It's like, what got the most interest? Roman got the most interest, I thought, from the crowd. And they've already started going that direction. So, like, I'm not saying it's going to happen for sure, but the path is there if they ever want to go down it.
Yeah, I want the path for LA Knight to be a win at the end.
I get you. I understand.
So, I don't want it to be all this build just for him to lose to Roman. I think you would turn people off if you did that too, because people were really upset when you did that with Cody. I think if you do that for another guy that you're building that's really hot, that people are liking, if you just feed him to Roman again, people will be like, come on, again? I think that's why I don't think the end goal should be Roman. I think it should be somebody else. Like Seth, or even Gunther.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if Gunther's still champion, Intercontinental champion by WrestleMania, like, yeah, LA Knight could win the Rumble and challenge Gunther. Like, why not? It would be kind of a shitty, first guy to win the Rumble and not challenge the world champion. Like, I don't know. It's not great, but they might find a reason why.
We can always find a reason why. Sadly.
All right, John. How about AEW? Anything else in WWE world interest you, or can we drift over to the All Elite section?
No, I think that was pretty much it. I mean, there's a lot of bad on Raw, so I guess the less said about Raw, the better. Like, one of the worst Raws I've seen in a while.
Nothing much happened. Nia Jax came back.
That was terrible. That so bad. Like, she killed Rhea on the bonsai drop. Like, that was, I would have been mad.
Yeah. Remember how we were saying before about how some people were green and then they get experience and then they get better, but then some people are green and then they get experience and they remain the same?
Yes.
Yeah. Nia Jax is a good example of remaining the same.
She looks bigger, though. Good for that.
I didn't notice a difference. She just looked, she looked like Nia Jax, She's got a hell of a look. She looks intimidating. But as far as her matches, it depends. Depends on the night. I've seen her have some decent matches. I've seen her have some real bad ones. So we'll see. But I
I
think,
remember the bad one.
They invested a lot in her. She's a star. She's somebody we know. She's got a different look. She's got some size. She's intimidating. You've got Rhea Ripley here. If she's just an opponent for Rhea Ripley, fine. If she's just here to build up Rhea and then just kind of be in a tag team or whatever, yeah, why not? I was surprised they let her go. If she wants to wrestle for WWE, why not? I was happy to see her back. Like, why not have another star on your roster? She was made into a star. People know who she is. Why not? It's like when I saw Lana in AEW. I was like, yeah, good. There's another star on TV. Tired of seeing people I don't know. Jabronis, Nia Jax, she's got something. Not the best, but I've seen worse.
Explain to me that Samoan drop at the end. What the heck was that?
Like why the referee didn't see it?
Well, there's that. Fine. And then, you hit the Samoan drop, and then Raquel just goes back in the ring, like nothing really happened. What was the point of that? I didn't get that. I was like, did something just happened, and then, we're just going right back into the match and on the finish. Like, you just took a Samoan drop on the floor. Like, why couldn't you take the count-out loss? Yep. It didn't register whatsoever there.
It didn't make a lot of sense. Also,
no.
Does the referee not see Nia Jax hit that Samoan drop on Raquel Rodriguez right outside the ring? What does he think Nia Jax is doing there?
I don't know.
It was bad.
That was a bad ending, but they're not good at their endings sometimes. Some finishes are, even tonight, I think, too, was kind of crummy in the Bayley match as well.
Yeah. That match was really stupid. Bayley was wrestling Asuka. The match was, not great. They had that one spot where they were kind of rolling around and rolling out of the ring, and they kind of seemed not sure where
Bayley
they were going.
Said, "Follow me."
Did she say that?
And that's, you clear as day. Follow me. You're on the bottom. What the heck?
Yeah, it was weird. That kind of took me out of the match. I was like, they seem like they're just rolling around confused. They got outside the ring, and they kind of stalled there for a minute, and then Bayley kind of picked up Asuka and dropped her, but I was like, what happened? And then the match pretty much devolved from there. Bayley went over to the other side of the ring. You see her toss Asuka into the barricade, but miss, and Asuka just kind of crumpled to the floor. It looked awful. It was all right, and then it just kind of fell apart. And then Shotzi showed up in the crowd, and Bayley just ran away, scared of Shotzi, just afraid. And then Asuka hit a backslide to pin Bayley and beat her. It was dumb. That finish was bad. The Jimmy Uso finish there with AJ Styles and Finn Balor was bad. All these distraction finishes, real weak. Not great.
Yeah, I just had to mention all that, my frustration with that. But
yeah.
Besides that, AEW coming to Montreal. That's great news, I think, for fans that want to see that in Montreal.
Yeah, I mean, we've been wanting AEW to come to Montreal for a while. I really wanted AEW to come to Montreal when they had CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and all those guys. They still have Bryan Danielson. That's cool. Would have liked to have seen Jade Cargill, but, oh well. Maybe she'll be at the house show in December. WWE's coming to Laval at the end of December, so maybe Jade Cargill will be on that.
I think, right?
Huh? Place Bell.
December 27th?
28th, I think?
Yeah, Place Bell. This is 28th? That's on Thursday, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird, Thursday.
Well, it's between Christmas and New Year's.
See, this is the thing. This is early December with AEW, December 5th and 6th.
Yeah.
Might be winter is coming. It might be that AEW getting possibly. And I don't know if you saw what I saw for both events. Though limited for Dynamite because Dynamite was selling better. The lowest tickets I saw were $39. I think the highest is 200 something.
Yeah. But even for the tickets on the floor, first couple rows are way cheaper than it is to sit there for WWE.
Oh yeah,
right?
without question.
Yeah. So it's a bit cheaper, but I think it has to be because they're not selling as well.
That's a huge problem, yes.
Yeah. So I worry about attendance for those shows.
But you'll be there both nights.
Yeah, of course I'll be there. I'll be at the WWE house show too. I mean, when a big wrestling show comes to town, why wouldn't I go? AEW's first show's here, why wouldn't I go? You know? Why not? I like AEW. I watch it enough on TV. Might as well see how it works in person. I've never seen AEW live. A lot of the wrestlers I've never seen live. Right? Lots of them. I've never seen Kenny.
Well, you have.
Yeah, some I have.
I've seen Moxley a lot.
I've seen Moxley too much, but yeah. But I haven't seen Kenny. I haven't seen the Bucks. I haven't seen Hangman. I've seen Bryan Danielson, but I mean, I could see him wrestle every day, and I'd be happy. So that's good. I want to see Kenny. I want to see. I've seen Jericho many times. It'll be nice to see Jericho again. I mostly want to see Kenny.
Wow, Ray Cruz, that's pretty good. That's the best like actual section, I think. 113
for what? Dynamite, Ray? You got tickets 113A for Dynamite.
So
I don't know if it's for Dynamite or Collision. I'll be sitting close to you, Ray. I think I'm a section over maybe for Dynamite.
Really? I thought you said Collision you had better seats.
Collision, I think I'm in 113.
Okay, that's what he said.
You say Collision?
Well, no, he said he had 113.
Yeah, but which show? Yeah, Sting would be cool if he came here. 113 for which night? Like Collision or Dynamite? That's what I'm saying. Because they have I didn't see any kind of package deal where you could buy, the same seat for both nights.
Which would have been fantastic.
Oh, he's saying for Dynamite. That's too bad. I think if that was for Collision, Ray, we'd be sitting like next to each other, possibly. I think I'm right there I think I'm maybe 113, row A for Collision. Yeah, that's where I am for Collision. 113 in the A.
Wow. So, yeah, you just swapped.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, wow, Ray, we might be sitting like next to each other. We'll be sitting now. I'm I think 114 or something for Dynamite. I'm like a section over. Dynamite is...
you still mic it on TV.
114. Yeah, I'm in 114 for Dynamite and 113 for Collision.
That's pretty good, though, for both nights. Not too bad.
Yeah. No, really good. Really good. Got the pre-sale. Was able to get really good seats. Easily. So, it's good. What else is happening in AEW? Grand Slam coming up next week. Jon Moxley will defend his international title against Rey Fenix. Chris Jericho will face Sammy Guevara. Saraya will face Toni Storm. Toni Storm won a 4-way to get a title shot. Saraya will defend the title against Toni Storm. Sting and Darby Allin will take on Christian Cage and Luchasaurus. Claudio Castagnoli will defend his Ring of Honor World title, and Eddie Kingston defending the NJPW, the New Japan Openweight belt that he's got. So it's going to be like 2 titles on the line in that one. Hangman Page against Swerve, official for Wrestle Dream. And MJF, of course, against Samoa Joe for the AEW World title, happening at Grand Slam. Now, Grand Slam, I think they're doing all their TV tapings there, right?
Not Collision. I think it's just Dynamite and Rampage. Collision will be a separate thing.
Okay.
It won't be a Grand Slam Collision.
So all those matches that I mentioned as being on Grand Slam, some of them will be on Dynamite, but some of them will be on Collision, right? Because that seems like too much for Dynamite. Moxley Phoenix.
No, Rampage.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Rampage. Right? Like they're going to split it up. Grand Slam is both nights. So I don't know which is which. Like which is going to be on Wednesday, which is going to be on Friday. I would assume MJF and Samoa Joe will be the main event on Dynamite.
Should be. makes the most sense, no? However,
Yeah.
we've seen it before. Did Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega not start Grand Slam one time?
Maybe.
I feel like it's the opening match. So sometimes they switch it up a little bit. I think they had the women main event, not mistaken. Was it not Ruby Soho against like Britt Baker or something, or Jamie Hayter? Was that not the main event? Last year even.
I don't know.
I think it was.
A bunch of matches here announced. I don't see many title changes. You know, like, I don't think Saraya's going to drop her belt to Toni Storm. I don't see Moxley dropping his belt to Rey Fenix. You think Toni Storm's going to take the belt back from Saraya here?
I mean,
she just won.
Do you see Saraya? I know, but do you see Saraya defending much? I mean, she doesn't wrestle that much. Toni, I feel like, is almost on every show all the time.
Yeah.
And with the new gimmick, I was surprised she didn't win at All In, but I get it for the moment and the way they built that match. But I could see them easily give it to Toni, actually. Toni's like the best woman wrestler they have right now. I like Saraya, but Toni Storm is right now their best.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't argue with that. I just think you could do some sort of screwy finish with Ruby Soho and you could push it. Maybe
of course.
Get somebody else in there against Saraya for a match or two before you do another match with Toni and give the title back to Toni, because Saraya just won. I don't know. Seems like too short of a run. I think Toni should be the champion at some point. I don't disagree that she's the best, but maybe you wait. I don't know. I don't know if they should do it at Grand Slam. I would wait. I think the major title change will be Eddie Kingston winning the Ring of Honor title from Claudio. And that'll be a big moment for him in his hometown.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's going to be that title change. But is it really that? I mean, it's the Ring of Honor title.
Yeah.
Which maybe to some people it's a big deal, but I mean, it's a minor title in the grand scheme of things. Like, the AEW women's title means more than the Ring of Honor title right now.
Yeah. I think you might main event Saraya and Toni Storm. You might open up Dynamite with MJF, Samoa Joe, but I would close Rampage with Claudio and Eddie Kingston. I think that's where you put that match, on the Rampage main event.
Interesting.
And MJF and Samoa Joe is a great main event, I think. Either you open up Dynamite with it or you close Dynamite with it. Either way, MJF in New York City is money. Especially babyface MJF now. Like, it's going to be nuts. Him and Joe, MJF winning, defending the title. That's going to be massive.
I don't disagree with you, but the way they did it this week was completely backwards. Because Joe was the babyface. And he won, and everyone was so happy for him. They made Joe seem like the big conquering baby face the way Dynamite ended. And like MJF is the horrible person he's got to go beat.
Well, how did Joe come off as a babyface? He beats Roderick Strong, makes him tap out, gets his title shot. And then Roderick Strong sold his neck injury to get like sympathy when Adam Cole came out. Adam Cole was all concerned. Yep. Roderick Strong gets wheeled off. Then Samoa Joe comes back out and chokes out Adam Cole. And he's like, I'm going to take everything from you, MJF. How does that make Samoa Joe babyface?
People were cheering like crazy when that happened. They were so happy. They were going, Joe. Like, the show ended with that. And throughout the whole match, they were saying, Joe, like, it didn't make any, like, he wrestled like a babyface in that match.
Well,
like,
it was
the way
weird,
they did it.
It was a weird spot because Roderick Strong is also a heel.
I know, but I'm just telling you, the way the fans reacted, it doesn't feel like Joe was the heel going into just the way the show ended, the way it was all built. It didn't feel like Samoa Joe was this horrible person that MJF's got to beat. It's like Samoa Joe is that monster that's coming to kill you, and we want to see it.
Yeah,
that's the way that was built to me.
Wait till MJF is in New York. That crowd is going to be 100% behind him and 100% against Joe. Come on.
It's interesting that we're going off of like, oh, it depends where it's at. depending where it's at will depend how the crowd reacts, and depending who's the babyface or who's the heel, it seems. It's interesting.
Yeah, but in New York, MJF, But again, the crowd was going to pick one with Roderick Strong and Samoa Joe because they were both heels in that match. So the crowd was going to decide, and of course they're going to decide Samoa Joe because people like Samoa Joe. He's a badass heel. Roderick Strong is like a fake-ass heel who's like mad that his friend has a new friend and he's like got a fake neck injury. Like, he's kind of comedic and stuff, but people are going to gravitate towards Joe. He's a bigger star, too. That helps. I don't know. I didn't see it as like a whole big deal. I thought, Joe, he played the heel after he attacked Adam Cole. I didn't notice the crowd loving that.
Oh, they love that a lot. They were chanting his name afterwards.
They like Adam Cole, though, too. Name.
Yeah, but Joe, I think people love violence, and Joe delivers that. So, and like you said, like he's a bigger star than a lot of those guys. Yeah. I think he's a bigger star than Adam Cole.
Yeah, I think he is too. But you know who he's not a bigger star than? MJF.
They're on, maybe he's not as big, but they're on that level of stars. Like they're top tier.
Yeah, Samoa Joe is a big match for MJF. It's a cool match here to have at Grand Slam. I'm happy that this is the one. This is the title match here, Samoa Joe and MJF, because there was a chance that it would be Roderick Strong, and I think that's just not as money as Samoa Joe in there. I think he's more intimidating for MJF, more of a threat.
Yeah.
Shana Tova, by the way, to MJF and all of my Jewish friends. Happy New Year. It's Rosh Hashanah, John. How are you celebrating Rosh Hashanah?
Not at all. I had no idea this was happening, but congrats to you and MJF.
Shana Tova to my boy Lorne out in Côte St. Luc. And I think Leor might be Jewish, too. A lot of guys named Leor are, but maybe he's not. I don't want to assume. So shout out to all my Jewish friends. Shana Tova. Happy New Year, baby. MJF is the best. He's going to beat Joe.
He had a nice promo.
He's amazing.
That Scott Steiner promo was
nice. The Scott Steiner math promo he
did
was great. Yeah. He's fantastic. He's the man. Top guy in AEW.
I prefer heel MJF, but, babyface MJF is okay if he's got to have different opponents, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's just for now. I don't know where the end is, though. Right? Like,
I don't know either. But that's okay.
Have they dropped the Ring of Honor tag belts? No, right? They still have them?
No, still have them.
And maybe when they drop the belts, something will happen there. Right?
Will they ever go to Ring of Honor to defend them? I don't know about that, but wait and see.
Nah, they don't have to. They can defend them on Rampage. Ring of Honor belts get defended in AEW all the time, right? Who cares?
Yeah, I don't see them wrestling in Ring of Honor. I don't see MJF doing that.
No. Hangman Page beat Brian Cage. Nice to see Hangman wrestle a real match on TV. I thought that was pretty good.
I thought it was all right. Not as good as their pay-per-view match they had. I think they showed at Double or Nothing. The second one they had, that was an incredible match.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best matches, I think, on that night. This was okay, but also I think you could tell like not as long, and they weren't able to really expand what they could do. Plus, that German suplex that Hangman took, you could tell he kind of sandbagged and didn't want to die on that one because Brian Cage looked like he was going to really toss him, and Hangman's like just relax a little bit and kind of make sure he didn't die, landed on his neck, on the top of his head.
Yeah, well, unless you're Kenny Omega, there's a limit to those that you can take, right?
Well, especially like the height that he was at, too, if you think about it.
Swerve was watching the match. Swerve and Hangman have a thing going. They're going to wrestle a match now officially at Wrestle Dream, which will be on October 1st in Seattle, which is, I think, Swerve's hometown. So, two hometown guys already getting big matches for that Wrestle Dream show. Bryan Danielson versus Zack Sabre Jr. should be one of the headlining matches. That is official for Wrestle Dream. That is the match that Bryan Danielson wanted, handpicked opponent in his hometown of Seattle against the best technical wrestler in the world, Zack Sabre Jr. This is a dream match. You talk about Wrestle Dreams. This is it. And this is the one that Bryan has been calling for years, and it is finally happening in Seattle. No better place, no better time.
I feel like this match has happened before, though.
Yes, many years ago, though. It's been...
Okay.
I mean,
it's not really a dream match when you think of, like, if it's happened before, it's not really a dream match when we've already had this. Maybe it's redoing it. It's like Cena and Rock. It's once in a lifetime. No, we're doing it again. And this one's a bit different because it's more than likely been, over 12, 15 years? Since
2009.
There you go.
They've had 2 matches. One was in 2008. The other was in 2009. So it's been
obviously different wrestlers now.
Yeah, 14 years since their last match.
They're obviously both different. I mean, I imagine they were much smaller back then.
That's pre-WWE for Bryan Danielson. Well, the big run, anyways.
I mean, yeah, but it's not to say Bryan wasn't good, because he was still good back then, though.
Of course. I'm just saying, this is a big one. Because there's been a lot of talk about it. Bryan has been talking about it. Zack Sabre Jr. has been talking about it. It's been rumored for Forbidden Door, and it just never came together. But now, Wrestle Dream, and Bryan Danielson cut a promo last week on Collision saying he promised his daughter that when she turned 7, he'd stop wrestling. And she's 6 now.
And they booed.
Yeah, they booed because he said that, his career's got about a year left. And he said, if I do have a year left, it's going to be the most intense year, the best year of my career. I'm going to do everything. And he says, I want to start it off by wrestling Zack Sabre Jr. at Wrestle Dream. And that's a pretty good way to have a final year of his career. And if it is the final year, great. But I also saw a quote from Bryan Danielson saying, I want to be like Terry Funk, who said he retired a bunch of times and just kept wrestling forever. So I don't think he's actually done it in a year. But as far as being a full-time member of the AEW roster, maybe. I could see him being done in a year and then coming back from time to time. But Bryan Danielson loves professional wrestling, and I think he is going to be one of those guys that has a really hard time staying away because he loves to wrestle. And I'd be surprised if he really retires fully in a year. I think that he will maybe step away, maybe take time off, maybe only come in from time to time, work a Brock Lesnar, Undertaker type schedule for AEW, have, 3 to 8 matches a year, possibly. But I don't think he's like retiring. At least I hope not. He will eventually. It's a matter of time, but I don't, he said he wants to be like Terry Funk, and Terry Funk never retired.
He already did retire once before, so.
Yeah, Bryan's already retired. Exactly. This is, they don't stick, thankfully.
I was a little surprised. I thought his ranking in PWI was very low.
What was he?
Like, he's not, I think he's like 16th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I figured that'd be your reaction to it. Like, I understand whatever, not top 5, whatever, but not top 10? Like, that seemed kind of weird. I don't understand how they do that, and a lot of people put a lot of authority behind that. They think that's like a huge thing. So, I know for a lot of the wrestlers. So it's kind of, it's weird. Yeah, you're seeing it now. You're probably seeing the whole list, and you're probably even more.
This list is ridiculous. This is fan voting?
I think PWI, it's actually like, I think writers, if I'm not mistaken. Like,
oh my God.
The wrestling journalists.
Yeah. Oh. The fucking loser
You're
marks The marks, the dumbass fucking nerds. A bunch
Your
of
favorite wrestler
incels
is number
fucking
one?
writing about who's the best pretend fighter. Fucking hell. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So I'm seeing the list now. Seth Rollins, number one. I'm just going to stop when I get to Bryan Danielson because you'll just see how stupid this whole fucking list is. Seth Rollins is number one, which, whatever. Roman Reigns, number two. Jon Moxley, number three. Good year for the Shield, right? Wow. Yep. So, okay, I mean, whatever. That honestly doesn't bother me. Gunther, number four. I think that's pretty good for Gunther. I think that's nice. Yeah. I like seeing that. Yeah. El Hijo del Vikingo, number five.
Okay.
MJF, number six.
But... Wow, it's kind of low for MJF. Wow.
How do you put El Hijo del Vikingo over MJF? Like, he's cool and all. He does some cool flips, but he weighs about 140 pounds, and I've never heard him speak, and he wrestles in Mexico primarily, and, like, who gives a shit?
Did he have a match like that
bullshit.
Iron Man match?
It gets worse. Huh? Yeah, exactly.
Did he
you
have
see
a match
MJF
like
and Bryan
Iron Man
Danielson Iron Man match. You see the top level work that MJF is doing. Does El Hijo del Vikingo talk? Maybe his Spanish promos are just out of this world, but I don't know. I've seen him wrestle. He's pretty good, but I think MJF is like way better. But El Hijo del Vikingo is the fifth best wrestler in the world according to the PWI Top 500. Kazuchika Okada, number 7. Orange Cassidy, number 8.
I mean, I get it because he's featured a lot. Like think about it. How does Dynamite usually start? An Orange Cassidy match. Yeah. That was like a whole year of that.
Yeah.
So I kind of get it.
It's okay. Josh Alexander, number 9.
I mean, he's the guy of Impact, right? So he was probably a dominant champion. So,
but Cody Rhodes, number 10. Cody Rhodes is coming after all these guys, and we haven't even got to Bryan Danielson yet.
I saw something about his sister was mad, and I guess this is why.
No shit. You're going to put Cody Rhodes way behind El Hijo del Vikingo and Orange Cassidy and Josh Alexander? This is a stupid list. Sonata, 11. Fine. Claudio Castagnoli, 12. Claudio over Bryan. Claudio over Bryan.
I mean, Bryan might say that's not bad, to be honest. So
Josh Alexander, Orange Cassidy over Bryan.
I question things. Yes,
fuck out of here, Orange Cassidy over Bryan in any wrestling list. Like, come on, no disrespect to Orange Cassidy. He's a fine talent. However, 13, Carmelo Hayes.
Wow.
I guess drawing money isn't a criteria for this list, right? Because who the fuck watches him? Who's buying tickets to see Carmelo Hayes? Nobody.
I guess they have to highlight the champions of certain feds. That's what it seems like. They have to be in the top.
Why?
10-ish. Because they're top of their fed, I guess. So they have to be there.
14, Samoa Joe. So Samoa Joe had a better year than Bryan Danielson, apparently. We're getting close to Bryan. 15, Masha Slamovich.
Oh, it's a female wrestler.
Yeah, I've heard of her.
Yeah,
but like I don't know. I don't know who she wrestles for. I'm surprised that she is the 15th best wrestler in the world according to this list, and she's also ranked above Bryan Danielson, who's 16, and then Will Ospreay, who's 17. Let alone Kevin Owens at 21, Sami Zayn at 22, Kenny Omega at 25.
Wow.
I mean,
I don't know what to tell you on this list. It's interesting. Like, their criteria, like, clearly you have to be a champion or something, so I guess whoever was over Bryan was a long-reign champion, so that might be a reason, I'm guessing.
Darby Allin is ranked 49. Somebody called Shun Skywalker is ranked 33. Who is Shun Skywalker? Who is Alex Kane? Who is Kino? Who is Gran Guerrero? Who's Kaito Kiyomiya? I've never heard of any of these people, but they're all better than Darby Allin, apparently.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Anthony Bowens from the Acclaim, he's not even on the list.
He's not even in the top 500 wrestlers in the world. 500!
So that includes people that never make television, apparently better than him. So, you can say what you want about the list, but I don't know if it's quite accurate.
No, I think it's dumb, but, it is a thing that people seem to care about. At least Bryan Danielson was ranked ahead of Big Dust, number 499. Shout out Big Dust. I think he should have been ranked higher. He or she, I don't really know.
Well, obviously, I think Jeremy Prophet should have been on the list. I don't believe he is on the list, so...
Are you on the list? You're not on the list.
Well, I don't think I was ever on the list, but I think Jeremy was on the list last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh. Was he ranked ahead of Bryan Danielson?
No, I don't think he was.
Mike Bailey's on the list.
Yeah, I think he's in the 30s, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
He's ranked really high. He's ranked higher than a lot of guys.
He had a
39.
great year.
39.
Yeah, he had a great year.
Yeah.
So he definitely deserves that.
Yeah. No, I mean, some of them I'm like, yeah, cool, good. But some others I go, what? Like, I don't know who Masha Slamovich is, really. I don't mean any disrespect to her, but I can't imagine she had a single match better than Bryan Danielson's Iron Man with MJF. I can't fathom it.
Or was she featured more so than Bryan was? I mean, that should be a big thing, too, is the fact that he's on, a major telecast like Dynamite.
How about the fact that people pay money to see him? How about the fact that me, grown man, grown adult, pay money to see him? People are like, you going to see AEW? Yes. You going to both shows? Yes. Why? Well, I want to make sure I see Bryan Danielson. If he wrestles, I have to see him. So I'm there to see Bryan Danielson. He sells tickets.
I agree. I won't disagree with you on that one.
He's a guy that sells tickets. He's a guy that makes me want to tune into a wrestling show. Did you notice that I talked about a Bryan Danielson promo that happened on Collision, John?
Well, what kind of helps on Dynamite? They show what happens on Collision, somewhat.
I watched Collision because I knew Bryan was going to be on.
Oh, okay, well, that might help too. Well, he's wrestling. I don't know if you noticed, he's wrestling tomorrow.
Is he?
Yeah, it's him and they had the challenge, because they had the match, right? It was Moxley versus Big Bill that started the show, right?
Mm.
And Moxley won. He won with the tap out, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
And then Ricky Starks, I think, came in. Then Danielson came in. Then Claudio came in. And then afterwards, Danielson challenged Starks and Big Bill to a tag match. Bryan and Claudio against them. Now,
and that's on
I don't know
Collision.
Who's the heel or face.
That's on Collision tomorrow.
That's on Collision.
Cool.
That's right. I don't know who the heel and faces are, but apparently this is happening.
I think the Blackpool Combat Club are baby faces at this point, aren't they?
Like, when did this happen? When didn't they like clearly? Because I don't watch all of Collision. I only saw the highlights of it. So clearly I missed something where they turned babyface. Because last time I saw they were heels.
I think it depends who they're feuding with. They can go both ways. You know.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. I'll try and watch Bryan Danielson wrestle tomorrow against Claudio. That'll be good.
No,
sorry, with
Claudio.
Yeah. With Claudio against Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Big Bill, Bryan Danielson, they wrestled a pay-per-view match against each other one time for WWE.
He mentioned like the history of him and Big Bill, saying how much he's improved and how great it is to see that. You know, how he's not only matured in the ring, but outside the ring as well.
Yeah. You know, some things can be taught, like wrestling ability, promo ability, you know, behavior changes, different things. Some things can be taught. But, you know, Big Bill is 7 feet tall, and you can't teach that.
I thought this was going into another CM Punk thing, but okay.
Bada boom! Realest guy in the room. How you doing? CM Punk. What are we talking about CM Punk? Because Ricky Starks said nice words about CM Punk on his way out. Bryan Danielson was interviewed by Sports Illustrated about a variety of things. He was asked about CM Punk's departure, and let me read you the quote from Bryan Danielson. In any job, when you lose somebody who's very important or you lose somebody you really like working with, that's hard. When asked about CM Punk. But everyone keeps doing the job, and anytime there is loss or controversy or struggle inside an organization, it's a chance to bring people closer. It's also a chance to divide people, so you have this thing where you can use struggle to make your life worse, or you can use the struggle to make your life better. When I lost my father, I came out on the backside. I was worse. Struggling with my depression, I've come out of it better. So how you approach something and how you learn from something, that's what makes a difference. So Bryan saying, you know, it's a chance to heal and grow.
Well, he also said like Punk was someone very important too.
Yeah, he said, in any job, when you lose somebody who's very important or you lose somebody you really like working with, that's hard. That's the first answer. So, yeah. And like I said last week, you know, I've always wanted that Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Iron Man match, mega feud, world title, pay-per-view, main event. It's always been something that has just kind of eluded me as a wrestling fan. It feels like there were opportunities to do it, and it was never done by the WWE or AEW when they had them. Ring of Honor never really went in that direction. It just never really happened where we had the big feud, the big match, Bryan Danielson versus CM Punk, and CM Punk getting fired means that we probably will never see it. Especially CM Punk getting fired, and then in the same week, Bryan saying, I'm probably about done in a year. It doesn't bode well for the future of seeing Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, main event, title match. It'll probably never happen. And I think Bryan gets that. Bryan sees that. Punk must see that. And that was the first thing. I was like, man, we're never going to get that Punk-Bryan feud. That sucks. Because the promos there would have been amazing. You think Punk would be able to out-promo Bryan? I'm not too sure. I think in that instance, like, I think Bryan's got ammunition on Punk that he was just waiting to use, and he just never will.
I think it would have been very good. Like, I think Punk obviously is fantastic in promos. I mean, Punk might be the best guy in promos like today right now. But I think Bryan could hold his own though, which is something that was kind of lacking when you saw Punk against other people. Besides MJF, it was pretty much one-sided. Maybe some people get a couple good lines. Ricky Starks was okay, but like no one could really challenge Punk. Bryan, that might be a little interesting though. But to do that weekly like that, back and forth, Punk was very good at like every week coming up with stuff. What you saw with that with Bryan, especially in WWE, he wasn't a guy to do that weekly. Once in a while, yes. Weekly, I felt like that's where he showed his weakness.
Yeah. I don't see it that way. I think they could have done a lot together, but we'll never know, right? We'll never know.
Well, I think what was really great about Dynamite this week was just what can I look forward to now that Punk's gone? And it's like, well, I found some things I can look forward to. And I honestly thought, like, whatever happens with the BCC, like, they always will do something that's going to be crazy. Moxley will bleed. You can always count on that in some capacity. And it might be ridiculous, but you're going to get that. So you know what you're getting with that. And, Claudio will deliver great wrestling matches. And Brian, we'll see what we get from Brian. Like, I feel you can protect him and not have him get burnt out so quickly. Don't have him in these crazy matches all the time. This is the problem. Like, you bring him back from an injury, Anarchy in the Arena. You bring him back from an injury, strap match. Maybe just have a regular, like, thank goodness he's having a tag match. Like, have matches like this more often instead of, like, having crazy, extreme backyard wrestling matches all the time.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what they do with him. I don't know what the major plans are. The match with Zack Sabre Jr. is low impact. So that's a start.
But it's going to be like the Okada match. Like, that's where he broke his arm. Because it's Japanese style. It's got to be hard hitting.
Yeah, but so Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't wrestle that hard hitting style. He just wrestles like work a hold, go to this hold, go to that hold. He just turns you into a pretzel, which is really like very few bumps, very few big strikes. That's not really what Zack Sabre Jr. does. It's like technical wrestling, like just real, just grappling. And I think that's pretty low impact on your body. Brian can do that all day.
For the most part. But the thing is, too, with grappling, especially when you get older, it's going to be hard to just do all the little things, too. And if he's already banged up going into that match.
I don't know, man. Grappling, like just pure grappling without taking bumps, it's pretty easy on the body once you start getting warmed up, especially when your opponent is working with you. Like, that's some easy stuff.
It should be.
Yeah.
But like the Okada match, things can go awry.
Yeah, but Okada's totally different style. How many Zack Sabre Jr. matches have you seen lately?
Pretty much all the ones he's done in AEW.
Okay. Yeah, but you see it's a low-impact style. He doesn't do that much.
For the most part.
He hasn't wrestled that much in AEW. I can't remember. I guess a bit with...
Yeah, Claudio.
Yeah. Well, Claudio is more of a strong style than Zack Sabre, you know?
Yeah.
But Brian doesn't need to do that stuff. If anything, it'll be Brian outstriking Zack Sabre Jr. Zack Sabre might get hit hard, but I don't think... I mean, Zack Sabre Jr. is not one of those heavy strike guys. He's like, you throw a strike, he's going to catch your arm and twist it around your back, then you have no arms and you have no legs, and you'll be all pretzeled up. That's what he does.
Yeah,
nice smooth grappling.
But then you hit him with strong strikes. He's going to come back with strong strikes too, though. That's what happened in the match with Claudio.
Yeah. I'm not worried about Brian against Zack Sabre Jr. Like, Okada is a different story. He's a heavy hitter, but I think that Zack Sabre Jr. match is going to be smooth and really fun to watch. Speaking of Punk, did you see that video of Punk stabbing himself in the head?
See, fans shouldn't post stuff like that. That's kind of like ridiculous.
Why?
Because, like, Punk, one, he's underneath the table, right?
He's hiding.
Like, clearly, yeah,
you can see him.
Cameras, like,
he's like jabbing his head with the blade, and then he's coming up bloody for his match with Samoa Joe. It was from his last match.
Because the fan, like, got right to the barricade and went underneath the table with his camera to see that, you know? So, like, exposing it. But the fans shouldn't, like, we don't need to see that. Like,
why not? It got a lot of views. People wanted to see it. People are watching it. News outlets are like putting it out there. It's a story. It's like, oh, look at Punk doing his blade job. You very rarely see it done that close up.
I mean, it's a cool way of seeing how it's done correctly. I mean, that's the way you should do it, the way he did it.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, he did it, fine. Like, but do we need to see it? Not really.
See, I was always under the impression, because a lot of guys say, like, you just grab it and you go, right? You just do like a slice. But he was going pop,
right,
pop, pop, pop. Like he was just stabbing it, like just kind of jabbing himself in different spots on his head. Like that was a different technique than what I'd seen or kind of heard about, you know? I guess there's a different style. There are different styles of blading.
Well, the way he did it was probably the best way of doing it because that's the easiest chance to get a lot of blood, and it clearly worked the way he did it. The other one is the whole like underneath the eyebrow kind of thing. But it doesn't always work for people. Some people, their skin is like harder than others, so it doesn't always, blood doesn't always come out. So he probably has really hard skin, so it's like, well, that's the best way to get it done correctly. Because another thing too is if you take it and then you start scraping across, you might scrape too much doing that because you can't really see what you're doing.
Yeah. Have you ever done it?
Attempted to do it, didn't do it correctly in the match.
Oh, what happened?
So then the other guy bladed it instead. Actually busted himself instead.
Oh.
Yeah, I bled hard way.
Because it's not. Yeah. I mean, but like doing it yourself, cutting yourself open and making yourself bleed, like it's not an easy thing to do. People are like, "Oh, just do it." I mean, if you've never done it before and you're in the middle of a wrestling match and you're sweaty and you have to take this little blade and hide and make sure no one sees you, and you have to slice yourself open, and I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. There is an art to it. And also, like, just as a regular person who isn't a pro wrestler, I would never want to do that. Like, that sounds horrible. That sounds like the worst part of pro wrestling. Why the fuck would you slice yourself open? Like, I get it's for the art. It adds to the show. It adds emotion. It adds drama. But I would never want to do that. I don't know. It's crazy. But hey.
You really got to love wrestling. You really have to love it to want to do it.
Yeah. You really got to, I mean, it's throwing yourself into the art, right? It's really, it's giving everything to the art and to the show and to the performance. It's part of the performance. Adds the drama. I think some of it is a bit overdone these days in AEW. You know, like there's blood in so many matches that you kind of go, whatever, you're desensitized to it. It doesn't add drama.
It's mainly Moxley.
Yeah.
Moxley for the most part.
It doesn't add drama when Moxley does it. You know, it's just like, oh, there he is. He's bleeding again. Like, some guys, when they're bleeding, you're like, oh, my God, are they okay? What's going to happen here? Are they going to pass it? You know, whatever. Moxley is just like, oh, yeah, that's what he looks like all the time. It's like Flair at a certain point when he was bleeding. It's just like, yeah, whatever. You do that like every match, man. Like every big match Flair had, he was covered in blood. And it was like, all right, I get it. Dusty. Yeah, a lot of those guys. And I think when you do that so often, like, I get it, it's a big match and you want to do color, but, like, if you have color for every big match, people go, yeah, whatever. No big deal.
I mean, New Jack, you saw how his forehead was at the end.
Yeah. Well, some guys just make a living off of it. Some guys, that's just what they do because they have to do it. But, I mean, Moxley, I think, is a good enough wrestler. He doesn't have to do it as often as he does.
No, he just likes doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. He's going to turn out with a forehead like Abdullah the Butcher, though, or like Dusty Rhodes, you know? He's going to have those old-school wrestler foreheads.
I think the way he was looking at it, he's already losing his hair, so I don't think he really minded that, you know, his forehead gets bigger.
Cool. Well, good for Jon Moxley. I hope Renee likes that scarred forehead look. I feel bad for Jon
Moxley. What he said, though, like, he says he has the arthritis of a 72-year-old?
Yeah,
like,
I saw that.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
His doctor told him he's got arthritis of like a 70-year-old, and that was 2 years ago, so he figures it's his 72-year-old now. And he says he couldn't wrestle in the morning or afternoon. Like, it takes him a long time to get kind of loose and warmed up, and thank God wrestling is at night, because otherwise he wouldn't be able to do it. Which,
terrible, man.
Yeah, right?
Sad. Kind of feel bad for him. Like, no one should have to go through that. And, like, he's, you know, not even 40 yet, is he? Like 38 or 39?
Yeah. Yeah, he's close, but not quite. 37.
And he has arthritis as a 72-year-old at 37?
Yeah, that
Horrific.
sucks. Yeah, no, he's my age. He's like actually a couple months younger than me. And, yeah, I couldn't imagine having arthritis of a 70-year-old man. I don't have any arthritis. But I also don't professional wrestle, so makes sense. But that sucks for him. But he's put his body through a lot over the past several years, right? He started wrestling in 2004, and he was wrestling a hardcore style right off the bat, putting his body through a lot right off the bat. 2004, man, that's almost 20 years. Wear and tear.
Well, the WWE, I mean, wasn't schedule was rough, but at least he was real hardcore wrestling. But at least it wasn't like hardcore wrestling that he was doing so much.
Yeah, but you got a bump every night.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like, a lot, you know? Yeah, he's been through the ringer. I'm not surprised he's this beat up, but it's like, you wonder how much he's got left in the tank. How long can you keep going like this? You hear about Moxley having the bad arthritis. Seth Rollins' back is all messed up. Roman Reigns is so hurt, he's like just taking time off. And according to that PWI list, those are the 3 top wrestlers in the business, John. They're all halfway on the shelf.
Well, Roman will be okay. He takes enough breaks. He'll be fine.
Yeah, but he's got some injuries, right? Like, he's not just on vacation. He's also hurt. Right?
Well, yeah, but I think he'll be okay. I'm sure he'll be all right for Saudi Arabia.
Well, that's what he's resting for. That's what they got to get him ready for, because if they don't have him in Saudi Arabia, they're going to have to, I don't know, call Brock.
Well, I think they might get Brock for that too, to be honest.
Yeah, they do pull out all the stops for Saudi Arabia, that's for sure.
WrestleMania 3, one year.
Yeah. Well, speaking of WrestleMania 3, that may be the all-time attendance record for pro wrestling. Did you see the AEW attendance apparently was inflated for All In? It wasn't exactly the correct attendance. It was about 75,000 or something, not 83,000 or whatever they said.
The wording, paid attendance. They have the record for paid attendance. They didn't say the people that went through the turnstiles. Like, Tony Khan even said it. The paid attendance record. Now, if so many thousand didn't show up, whatever, but if 81,000 paid, they got that money.
Yeah, unless they bought the tickets themselves just to say that they had that record.
Well, maybe they did, possibly, but they have that 81,000 paid. Unlike WWE, apparently had 82,000. Kofi Kingston. You see that on Raw this week?
No.
Oh, you didn't see that?
What happened?
Because it was Xavier and Drew McIntyre, right? And Xavier's like, "Oh, you have beef with Kofi? Is that because when he had his greatest moment, it was in front of 82,000, and you did yours in an empty arena?"
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, 82,000 was done for a reason there.
For WrestleMania, yeah, it was like a joke about. But what was Clash at the Castle? Like, Drew had a huge crowd for that.
I think that was 60-something.
Yeah, that was pretty big.
That's what they. Well, that's what they announced, right? So, I mean,
yeah, who knows?
You know, WWE would be inflated, right?
But, like, the story about AEW's attendance not being as big as they said does not surprise me. It being, like, 10,000 off, whatever. It doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is all these marks out there that took them at their word. Like, well, yeah, obviously they're going to inflate the number. Everybody inflates the number. Everybody. Every promoter is always going to inflate the number. But for some reason, there was this, like, sentiment in wrestling where it was like, well, WWE, they just lie about the numbers. We can't believe anything they say. But AEW's number, that's real. Why would we ever doubt the great Tony Khan? But now the wheels are starting to fall off on the whole AEW ship, and people are like, well, they fired CM Punk. They got fake numbers. Tony Khan maybe out to lunch a little bit. But like,
I thought the worst.
I mean, come on, man. Who's surprised by this? Like, who are these marks that are like, oh, the real number, guys? I think Meltzer was pushing that it was like the real number and WWE's big liars about numbers and stuff, right? But he wasn't the only one.
Well, I thought the big thing that came off this was that Ospreay got mad. I don't know if you saw that.
Didn't he make a tattoo of the number?
Right.
Didn't he
Right.
had a tattoo of the attendance put on his body?
Yes.
The fake attendance?
Right.
I'd be mad
and then
too.
he did a video. Then he did a video where he's mad about it.
Well, maybe don't get a tattoo of attendance. When you're in the wrestling business, you got to figure some things are works there, buddy. Come on, Will Ospreay.
Well, you got to wonder now, like, was it a good idea to put him over? I mean, you expect he's going to sign with AEW, but maybe after that, maybe he won't sign now.
Oh, he should go to WWE.
I mean, you got to do what's best for you. You know, like he said, like he's got a stepson and everything. Like he's got a family. Like, you got to do what's best for your family.
Yeah. If I'm Will Ospreay, I would go to WWE, get paid, cash in on my wrestling notoriety, and wrestle a safer style. So your body doesn't take a vicious beating. Because you stay on the indies, you stay in New Japan, you stay in AEW, people are going to expect a certain amount of crazy shit from you all the time. You go to WWE, you could tone it down and people will be thrilled to see you.
Yeah, but I might take longer to get your way to the top in WWE, where AEW, he's kind of already there. So I feel, and he might get good money anyways. So, and if he likes wrestling his style and not having to conform to WWE style, I can see him go with AEW.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what decision he wants to make? Who knows what company he'd be more comfortable in? But I feel like WWE is where you want to go right now. I think for a while, the momentum was AEW, and it was like WWE seems like a mess, Vince and everything. It was kind of weird, and people seem to think of AEW as the grass was greener on that side. But now, things in AEW seem odd and not great, and the grass seems greener in the WWE.
Is it, though?
If I'm a free agent, I'm looking at WWE.
Wow, okay. I mean, it depends on your situation, too. Because WWE, like, as you saw, they're still going mainly for, like, university athletes. That's their main, like, recruiting process right now.
Yeah. So?
It's not indie wrestlers. Or AEW, like, that's what they look for.
How's that working?
No, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. It's true, it's hit or miss.
Yeah. WWE's looking real good these days. They've got a mix. They've got some indie talent. They've got some people they've brought in from different places. They've got some athletes, you know? It's working. They've got a mix. They've got things going. They've got The Rock. And that's the most important thing. And that's why our show was super long tonight, because The Rock was on SmackDown, which is fantastic. The show he named Layeth the Smacketh Down on some candy asses. He laid a smackdown on Austin Theory's candy ass. Pretty good. You
forgot to mention the Jericho Sammy Guevara thing. I thought that was a good portion on Dynamite this week.
Yeah. It was all right.
I mean, I wasn't big into this match, but I'm like, okay, at least you're trying to sell it. You know, you gave the little package there. At least they tried to build some heat.
I don't know. I was like, am I supposed to care about Jericho and Guevara's friendship? Like, I don't give a shit. I don't feel that Jericho and Guevara are these great friends. Like, I don't care about the breakup or the match or the years of friendship. Like, I didn't care.
Well, I believed a lot of it because if you listen to his podcast, Jericho's podcast, a lot of it, like he said this in the past, so to bring it up here as well, it's like, yeah, this is all true stuff that he's saying. Like, talking about meeting him at the NWA pay-per-view. I remember that pay-per-view and being like, yeah, Sammy Guevara was good. Why the stupid panda head, I have no idea, but he's a great talent.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hilarious they say the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Yeah, no, the promo was all right. You know, Jericho retelling the history and Sammy and all that stuff. Like, it was all right. The video package I just didn't care for. I thought it was just, like, there were parts of it that I enjoyed, but I felt overall it was too long of a segment. It just kind of dragged.
Okay. I see that. I don't like the idea of, like, let's have a match and then let's go for the tag team titles, but, you know, they're trying to sell it.
Yeah, but that's another thing. I don't care at all about the Jericho-Sammy Guevara drama. I don't care. I never have.
Well, for them, it's a big part of the AEW history because, like they said, it was since the first show they've been together.
Yes, for them. But anybody else? Like, does it really matter to wrestling fans? The Jericho-Sammy Guevara friendship over the years? Is that something that people are really invested in? I don't think so. I like Jericho. Guevara's all right, but this is not a match I'm looking forward to. It's not one of the headlining matches for Grand Slam. I want to see MJF and Samoa Joe. I want to see Saraya and Toni Storm. Maybe a couple others. Sting and Darby against Christian and Luchasaurus. I want to see
that. Makes Dynamite. I hope it makes Dynamite.
Might be on Rampage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we'll watch it anyways. Johnny, that's enough. That's enough out of me. That's enough out of you. Well, when's your next match, though? When can people see you?
So it's going to be October 1st for Torch Chamber. Tickets are going to be on sale soon, so stay tuned to this show. Hopefully next week I'll have more details.
October 1st. There you go. Follow him on Twitter at North Genesis. You could follow me at Dave Simon MMA. And I'll be back Thursday, 8 p.m. for Ringside Report MMA. I got the weekend off, a rare weekend off for me.
Wow.
Right? No UFC pay-per-views or anything. There's a UFC tomorrow. Shevchenko and Grasso. I'm going with Grasso, underdog champion to retain. And, no shows this weekend. No WWE pay-per-view, no AEW, no UFC. So I get the weekend off, and I get to recharge and come back on Thursday night, 8 p.m. for Ringside Report MMA, where we will be previewing Fiziev versus Gamrot at the Apex. UFC doesn't have another pay-per-view for several weeks now, so UFC's chilling out. And the next WWE big WWE show will be on the 7th of October. The next post show that we do here on the Ringside Report Network will be for AEW's Wrestle Dream on October the 1st. Yes, by the way.
I just wanted to make mention about because of the merger now of UFC and WWE, the plan is they want UFCs on Saturdays and WWE PLEs on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
So for now, yes, it's going to be the way it is, Saturdays, WWE pay-per-views, but next year that might change, it looks like.
That makes a lot of sense. I did like those combo nights when we could watch a UFC pay-per-view and a WWE pay-per-view on the same night and kind of do both shows at the same time. It was kind of fun. It was a lot of things moving. But, yeah, as a viewer, I would rather watch the UFC on a Saturday and WWE on a Sunday. WWE on a Sunday just seems right. And if they own both companies, why would they compete with each other? Doesn't make sense. Own the weekend instead of competing for one night. Right? Yeah. And I look forward to more crossover between UFC and WWE. I know Dana White didn't seem too fond of it, but Dana White's not making those decisions. So I would love to see it. I dream of the day where we have a wrestling feud that begins in the ring and ends in the octagon. Or vice versa.
As long as we don't have the F words, it's okay.
Yeah, sure. But I'm saying I would like to see like a wrestling feud where it's like two guys have a wrestling match and then they're like, oh, let's take it to the octagon, and then they actually have a UFC fight. That, to me, would be the coolest thing ever. And I dream of that day, and I believe one day it will happen. With this UFC and WWE merger, I believe one day there will either be a UFC feud or a fight in the UFC where they then go, okay, now in a few months or whatever, next year or something, we build to a wrestling match with these same two people, or vice versa, where you have two guys from WWE have a match and then they decide to have a UFC fight against each other. I think we will see it at some point in the next 10 to 15 years. That's a big, long stretch of time. I realize that. I'm just saying that they're under the same roof now, so the possibilities are there. Why not?
I mean,
we've already kind of seen it with Brock and Cain Velasquez. Brock and Cain fought in the UFC, and then they had a wrestling match in WWE. We've kind of seen it. But I'm saying, like, make it a thing where it's like wrestling feud turns into octagon fight. Like, it's a whole program where it's set up it's set up ahead of time, where it's like, we will do this, then we will do that, and it will be a whole big thing, and we'll make money.
I could see UFC fight, then WWE fight. You can see that. WWE fight to UFC.
Tough.
I think we're ways away from that happening. You need a guy like Brock around.
Yeah, but when you have a worked match against a guy who you know you're going to have to throw live rounds against, like, at some point in the future, I could see it being awkward. But if you have the fight first, where you settle it in a real way, I could see afterwards being like, okay, let's have a worked match and, have some fun, make some money.
Business.
Yes. Yeah. I could see the UFC first and WWE second making more sense. Like Brock and Cain Velasquez. Ray Cruz says, be careful what you wish for, Dave. Remember, Shayna versus Ronda wasn't great. Yeah, but that's a different story, and that's not what I'm talking about, because Shayna and Ronda never fought in the UFC against each other. It's a different thing. That's not what I'm talking about. But I know what you mean. Sometimes the MMA-style wrestling match doesn't work, but I'm not talking about an MMA-style wrestling match. I'm talking about a pro wrestling match between two people who also have a UFC fight against each other. Like CM Punk wrestles Bryan Danielson in a match, and then they have a UFC fight afterwards. Like that type of thing, which would be sick. Bryan would win both.
Right, but I get Ray's thing, because, like, Shamrock and Severn, like, it was a great UFC main event. WWE
not so much.
wasn't.
It was pretty
for
garbage.
A lot of people, it was hyped. It was hyped as a huge thing.
Yeah, I remember renting the VHS. That turned me off of UFC, that fight. You can't bring that fight up with me and tell me that was a great fight, because that fight turned me off of MMA. I thought it was the most boring thing in the world after I watched that fight.
Well,
Ken Shamrock. It was UFC 9. I rented the videotape. Okay? Because I knew Ken Shamrock and I knew Dan Severn from WWF. And I heard Ken Shamrock is the world's most dangerous man. So I wanted to know about, and I'd heard about the UFC. I wanted to know about this thing. It's UFC 9 I rented on video because I'm looking it up. It was a split decision loss to Dan Severn for Ken Shamrock. It was May 1996. I probably rented it in 97 or 98. Right? When did Shamrock debut in WWE? When did Severn start in WWE?
97. He was the referee for Austin and Brett.
Right, but what about Severn? Severn came in 97 too. So I would say I rented this tape probably in 97, maybe 98, but probably 1997, right? So I'm 12 years old, maybe 11 at the time. I rented this thing. I'm like, let me watch Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock, because I know these guys from WWF. Let's see what they look like in a real fight. And they just circled around each other doing nothing. And I thought, in my young mind, I go, well, this is what real fighting looks like. It's not as fun as WWF, is it? Because two guys are kind of, scared, not doing anything. And I remember hearing, and I knew at the time that, pro wrestling used to be real, but the matches were too long and they were too boring, so they made them fake to bring the fans in and get interest, right? They made them a work. It used to be a shoot. They made it a work, and that's how we have modern-day pro wrestling. That's kind of where it all came from. So I thought, okay, well, Ken Shamrock and Dan Severn, they had a real fight here, but real fighting is actually impossibly boring because here are two stars They fought each other, and they did absolutely nothing. And that's when I gave up on UFC, and I didn't come back until like UFC 80-something. 81 maybe, when Brock Lesnar debuted. Like 1996, I was like... Yeah, Chuck Liddell, I guess. I was kind of interested in Chuck, and I know when GSP started making noise, I started paying attention. But, like, that was maybe 5, 6, 7 years later. Like, I was just off the UFC. I was like, oh, let me check this out. I checked it out, and I hated it. Because of that fight. That Dan Severn, Ken Shamrock fight from UFC 9 turned me off of mixed martial arts for a very long time. You know, imagine if I had seen a great fight. Imagine if I had rented a better videotape. It would have been a whole different story, but I rented that one, and that fight was a stinker. It just shows you, man. You have one stinker of a fight, you could lose a fan. That would be a big-time fan, because obviously now I love MMA, right?
I remember...
It eventually got me back in. Mir? I love MMA, but, you know, that fight was garbage.
I remember, like... a lot of UFCs at the time were like really good, and then I saw Frank Mir against Roy Nelson. I'm like, well, that streak ended after I saw that fight.
Yeah.
If you remember that fight.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. I think it was, yeah. I remember it being pretty bad. There's a lot of bad fights, man. Sometimes you have a stinker and you're like, ugh. But thankfully I've seen enough good fights that I know. You know, I know now, hey, MMA could be pretty good. Sometimes you have stinkers, but, you know, they're few and far between. But back when I'm 11 years old, it's the first UFC tape. It's UFC 9. It's not like there's a ton of MMA out there. You got to rent the tape at the video store. You go, you watch it, and it's totally boring. What do I know? Figure MMA's just boring. It's the only experience I had with it. Huh?
Vince thought this too, and now he controls the UFC.
That's right. That's right, damn it. All right, I'm back Thursday night, 8 p.m. Thank you to Doug Hepburn. You're the Super Chat leader of the night. Shout out, Doug. Shout out to Ray Cruz, Lior, and all the members of the team over at join.ringsidereport.net. I'll be back Thursday night, 8 p.m. right here on the Ringside Report Network.
Thanks for sticking with us to the end. We would really appreciate it if you could help us spread the word.
You know the drill. Hit that subscribe button, flip those notification switches.
We are an audience-supported network, so consider becoming a recurring supporter at membership.ringsidereport.net. Check out our website at ringsidereport.net. Hope to